Astrological Forecast of the Conflicts for October 2024, Part 3, by Ambrosius Holloway. The Celestial Dance of Compassion, Jupiter sextile Neptune in October 2024. October 2024 unveils a cosmic alignment destined to ripple across the globe, a sextile between Jupiter in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces. This harmonious aspect, rich with potential, ignites a wave of spiritual growth, humanitarian compassion, and cultural innovation. Like a gentle breeze lifting the world into new heights of understanding and empathy, Jupiter's expansive energy merges with Neptune's dreamy idealism, setting the stage for breakthroughs in healthcare, artistic expression, and international cooperation. The celestial tide promises not just change, but a transformative awakening that will touch the hearts and minds of societies around the world. United States embraces compassionate healthcare reforms and a cultural renaissance. In the heart of America, from the vibrant streets of New York to the sun-drenched valleys of California, the Jupiter-Neptune sextile takes root, offering the nation a moment of profound reflection. As Jupiter's intellectual energy flows through Gemini, it fuels conversations that challenge outdated healthcare systems, calling for compassionate reforms that prioritize mental health and public health education. Imagine hospitals reimagined as sanctuaries of healing, where holistic approaches blend with advanced medical technology, offering care that honors both body and spirit. At the same time, the artistic soul of the U.S. awakens. From Hollywood's glittering screens to the underground art movements of Brooklyn, creativity blooms. Media and the arts become vehicles of social change, inspired by Neptune's ethereal influence, bringing themes of unity, spirituality, and compassion to the forefront. Picture a world where films, music, and visual art not only entertain but inspire collective introspection, inviting audiences to reconnect with their shared humanity. Europe combines humanitarian aid with a renaissance of artistic collaboration. In the cobblestone streets of Paris, the bustling squares of Madrid, and the artistic enclaves of Florence, the Jupiter-Neptune sextile creates fertile ground for both humanitarian initiatives and a resurgence of cultural expression. The European Union, already a symbol of cooperation and unity, sees its humanitarian efforts bolstered under Jupiter's influence. From refugee camps to international aid missions, the EU leads the charge in offering compassionate support to those in need, weaving Neptune's idealism into policies that prioritize human dignity. But it is not only in the realm of policy that Europe shines. This is a moment for the arts, a renaissance born of the stars. French painters, Spanish musicians, and Italian filmmakers channel the cosmic energy into their work, creating masterpieces that speak to the soul. The air is thick with creativity, and the streets become galleries, where artistic collaboration transcends borders and emphasizes unity, spirituality, and the boundless possibilities of the human imagination. India unites spiritual growth with expanding healthcare innovation. India, with its ancient spiritual heritage and vibrant culture, stands poised to harness the full potential of the Jupiter-Neptune sextile. In the sacred temples of Varanasi, the bustling streets of Delhi, and the healing waters of the Ganges, Neptune's Piscean influence fosters a wave of spiritual unity that sweeps across the nation. Meditation centers, spiritual retreats, and wellness initiatives expand as India becomes a beacon of spiritual growth for the world, offering not only peace but pathways to deeper collective consciousness. Yet, it is not only in the spiritual realm where this celestial alignment leaves its mark. Jupiter in Gemini fuels India's intellectual curiosity, sparking innovations in healthcare. Picture a healthcare system that integrates ancient wisdom with modern medical advancements, a system where mental health, physical wellness, and spiritual practices come together in a holistic approach. As healthcare expands, so too does the public's access to knowledge, with educational initiatives promoting holistic wellness and mental health awareness across the country. The winds of compassion, global healthcare, and humanitarian reforms under the Jupiter-Neptune sextile. In the vast cosmos of October 2024, a profound celestial alignment whispers of healing and hope, the Jupiter-Neptune sextile. A harmonious bond between these two powerful planets brings forth a wave of compassion, inspiring global initiatives that seek to uplift humanity. This is a time when healthcare reforms and humanitarian efforts stand at the forefront, beckoning organizations and nations to collaborate in ways that transcend borders, ideologies, and systems. Under this nurturing influence, the world's attention shifts toward mending the deepest fractures in society: poverty, healthcare disparities, and emergency relief. Let's dive deeper into how the Jupiter-Neptune sextile is set to impact the most influential organizations in the world, guiding them toward a future where compassion is the guiding light. World Health Organization, WHO, leads global healthcare reforms as compassion drives innovation. Picture it, halls of the WHO bustling with renewed energy, driven by a collective sense of urgency. The alignment of Jupiter in Gemini with Neptune in Pisces breathes life into their efforts, transforming them into a global advocate for healthcare reform. The world's most pressing health challenges, mental health crises, gaps in public health systems, and disparities in care, take center stage. This celestial aspect pushes the WHO to emphasize innovations that not only cure but heal, offering compassionate care rooted in both scientific knowledge and spiritual wellness. In the slums of Mumbai, where healthcare is often a distant dream, this energy ignites efforts to make quality care a reality. In bustling African cities, where public health systems struggle under immense pressure, the WHO's influence ensures international cooperation that strengthens and uplifts. Everywhere, there is a sense of change, a movement toward a world where healthcare is not a privilege, but a right. Compassion drives global support for Red Cross and UNICEF's humanitarian efforts. Imagine the lifeblood of compassion, pulsing through the corridors of humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross and UNICEF, as they answer the call of the Jupiter-Neptune sextile. In refugee camps across war-torn regions, in disaster-stricken areas where chaos reigns, these organizations step forward, empowered by the celestial forces at work. As Jupiter in Gemini encourages international dialogue, Neptune in Pisces deepens the sense of empathy and compassion, making this the perfect moment for humanitarian missions to gain traction and widespread public support. The Red Cross mobilizes emergency relief efforts with unprecedented speed, aided by global cooperation and a surge in volunteerism. UNICEF's reach extends further into impoverished regions, bringing not just aid, but hope. From providing medical care in earthquake zones to distributing clean water in drought-stricken villages, these humanitarian organizations find themselves at the heart of global efforts to reduce suffering. Every donation, every volunteer feels like part of a larger cosmic movement toward justice and empathy. The eclipse of justice, global shifts under the annular solar eclipse in Libra. On October 2nd, 2024, the world will stand beneath the cosmic shadow of a powerful annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra. This celestial event signals more than just a fleeting alignment of the sun and moon. It is a call for transformation, for justice, and for balance on both personal and global scales. In the heart of Libra, the sign of diplomacy, fairness, and relationships, this eclipse offers the potential for sweeping changes in international politics, legal systems, and alliances. Across continents, from diplomatic tables to global trade negotiations, the eclipse stirs a sense of urgency for recalibration and realignment. But it is also a moment of reckoning, as the balance of power teeters, promising new beginnings amidst political strife. Let's journey through the regions where this eclipse's transformative energy will be most deeply felt, shaping the future of diplomacy, governance, and leadership across the globe. Diplomatic winds of change. Europe faces realignments amid political strife under Libra eclipse. Imagine the grand halls of European parliaments, their flags waving in the winds of change. As the eclipse touches the heart of Europe, nations like France, Germany, and Italy are at the forefront of a diplomatic revolution. The energies of Libra compel these nations to seek justice and balance, driving them toward new treaties and partnerships that could redefine their roles on the global stage. Yet, as new alliances are forged, internal political strife may rise, testing leadership with demands for reform. Political landscapes shift like tectonic plates, with leadership transitions and the reshaping of foreign policies poised to alter Europe's diplomatic influence. From Paris to Berlin, the eclipse pulls back the curtain on leadership struggles, urging nations to find harmony amidst the discord. It is a pivotal moment for European diplomacy, but one fraught with political tension as these nations walk the tightrope between progress and instability. Eclipse ignites breakthroughs. United Nations pushes for global peace and diplomacy amid Libra's justice call. As the eclipse casts its shadow across the world, the United Nations becomes a beacon for peace in the face of global turmoil. In the spirit of Libra's call for justice, the UN may spearhead major diplomatic breakthroughs. It is a time when international negotiations take center stage, with the possibility of historic agreements on climate change, humanitarian crises, and global peace. In New York, where world leaders gather beneath the weight of this celestial event, the focus sharpens on justice, an echo of the UN's core mission. The eclipse's energy resonates deeply within the halls of the United Nations, urging diplomats to push for peace where conflict has long persisted. This is no ordinary moment. It's a celestial signal that new paths are emerging, offering a rare opportunity for global powers to recalibrate their alliances and commitments to a fairer world. Eclipse sparks political realignments, Latin America's quest for new trade and diplomatic alliances. Across the sun-drenched lands of Latin America, the eclipse brings whispers of change to political chambers from Brazil to Mexico. Here, the energies of the Libra eclipse push nations toward rethinking their international partnerships and trade agreements. Brazil's emboldened leaders may seek stronger economic ties, while Mexico's diplomats could negotiate new trade deals to stabilize their economy. Amidst the reshuffling of alliances, internal political turbulence may brew, threatening the foundations of government and leadership. For countries like Argentina, the eclipse signals a critical moment of reassessment, where trade deals and diplomatic relations are rewritten in the context of a shifting global economy. The political streets of Latin America rumble with change, as the eclipse's influence urges these nations to rise above economic instability and forge a path toward diplomatic and economic renewal. Middle East faces eclipse-led shifts, new alliances, and governance transitions under Libra's influence. In the heat of the Middle East, the eclipse casts its transformative energy over a region long defined by complex alliances and power struggles. Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Turkey, nations steeped in historical significance, find themselves at a crossroads. As the eclipse in Libra demands balance and fairness, foreign policies shift and new alliances form. Regional leaders are thrust into negotiations that could redefine political relationships across borders. Saudi Arabia may find itself realigning its partnerships, while Turkey grapples with its strategic position in global diplomacy. But the eclipse's power doesn't just affect foreign policy, it stirs the very foundations of governance. Internal power struggles threaten leadership, with political reform and governance transitions becoming unavoidable. As the sun and moon align in the sky, so too must the Middle East's nations align their leadership and strategies with the changing global order. Eclipse of relationships, personal and global shifts under the Libra solar eclipse. As the moon eclipses the sun on October 2nd, 2024, casting a shadow over the globe, a profound shift begins, particularly in the realm of relationships, both personal and organizational. The annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra is more than a celestial event. It is a cosmic reset button. Libra, the sign of balance, justice, and diplomacy, awakens within each of us a need for harmony, urging a reassessment of fairness in our closest relationships. But this eclipse doesn't just stir the hearts of individuals, it ripples across the globe, touching institutions that govern law, trade, and international relations. It is a moment charged with the potential for transformation, a tipping point where equity and justice demand attention. Let us explore the intricate web of impacts this eclipse will weave on relationships, legal systems, and global trade agreements. Eclipsed hearts, personal partnerships rebalance under Libra's transformative eclipse. Picture a couple standing at the crossroads of their relationship as the eclipse passes overhead, illuminating the path to balance or separation. The Libra eclipse brings focus to those spaces in our partnerships where fairness has wavered. For many, this moment calls for a deep reevaluation of the equity in their relationships, whether romantic, professional, or personal. Perhaps you have felt an undercurrent of imbalance for months, and now, as this eclipse works its magic, you are nudged to either resolve the disharmony or let go. Libra's influence, being the celestial mediator, ushers in the possibility for new beginnings. Relationships that have been teetering on the edge may find newfound strength, rekindling love, forging deeper partnerships, or even solidifying into business collaborations. Conversely, those bonds that cannot stand the test of equity may dissolve, opening the door to fresh opportunities and clearer paths ahead. Cosmic Courtroom, International Court of Justice faces transformative legal reforms under the Libra eclipse. Imagine the grand halls of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in The Hague, where global leaders and legal experts grapple with the most pressing legal disputes of our time. Under the Libra eclipse, justice itself feels the pull of the cosmos. The ICJ, tasked with maintaining international law and resolving global conflicts, is particularly aligned with Libra's core values of fairness and diplomacy. This eclipse, however, doesn't whisper change, it shouts it. Expect landmark rulings or legal reforms to emerge from this period, as the eclipse's energy demands that justice be served where it has long been delayed. Human rights cases, international law, and disputes between nations may rise to the forefront, with verdicts that will echo through history, reshaping the framework of global law. In this powerful moment, legal precedents may be established, changing how the world engages with international justice for generations to come. Balanced Trade, World Trade Organization navigates new global alliances under the Libra eclipse. Across the globe, as nations grapple with economic uncertainty and shifting alliances, the Libra eclipse casts a spotlight on the World Trade Organization, WTO. In the realm of global trade, diplomacy is more than just a tool. It is the foundation upon which international agreements are built. With Libra's influence at its peak, fairness and balance become critical components of new trade negotiations. This eclipse could mark the beginning of fresh trade agreements between nations eager to stabilize and enhance their economic futures. The focus on equity suggests that these new deals will be built upon principles of fairness, with reforms that address global economic inequality. Countries that have long sought to tilt the scales in their favor may find that Libra's justice has other plans. Expect the formation of new strategic alliances, reshaped by a collective desire for balance and mutual prosperity. Pluto's final stand, the eclipse unleashes leadership crises and power struggles across the globe. Picture the sky above as the scales of Libra attempt to maintain harmony, only to be disrupted by Pluto's transformative weight from Capricorn's 29th degree, like an ancient titan making its final stand. Pluto, the planet of destruction and rebirth, sits at a critical degree, signaling the end of a long cycle of deep political and economic transformations. As this Libra solar eclipse forms a tense square with Pluto, the resulting friction creates a volatile atmosphere where power struggles, leadership crises, and upheavals are inevitable. This square forces nations and organizations to confront their darkest secrets, issues of authority, corruption, and control that have long festered beneath the surface. The struggle between old power structures and the necessity for renewal creates explosive energy as diplomatic negotiations and leadership transitions become battlegrounds. Imagine a crumbling tower where those at the top desperately cling to their thrones, only to be met by forces pushing for profound change. It's a moment of reckoning, where balance can only be restored through conflict and reform. Leadership on the edge. Eclipse triggers political instability in the United States and Canada. In the heart of North America, the United States and Canada stand at the crossroads of leadership and governance. As the Libra solar eclipse squares Pluto, political instability becomes a haunting possibility. In the US, deep-seated issues that have been buried for years could erupt, creating an environment ripe for leadership transitions. Perhaps a scandal involving key political figures breaks through, or long-standing governance issues finally reach a boiling point. The eclipse may act as a trigger, bringing to the surface unresolved disputes that threaten the stability of the nation's leadership. Meanwhile, in Canada, economic pressures or governmental reforms could challenge the authority of those in power, sparking political turmoil that echoes the larger global unrest. North America faces a delicate balance, where power struggles and governance crises could reshape the future of both nations. Shattered alliances, power struggles redefine diplomatic relations in the European Union. Across the Atlantic, the European Union finds itself caught in the eclipse's gravitational pull, where diplomatic realignments and power struggles test the resolve of its leadership. The Libra eclipse, with its emphasis on diplomacy, forces nations like Germany, France, and Italy to confront the balance of power within their borders and across Europe. However, Pluto's square adds layers of complexity. Negotiations that should foster international cooperation become contentious battlegrounds, with leadership crises and governmental reforms emerging as necessary responses to imbalances of power. Imagine tense diplomatic meetings behind closed doors, where leaders clash over the future direction of the EU. In the streets, the public may call for change, sensing that the old order no longer serves the collective good. This eclipse is a cosmic mirror, reflecting back the fractures in European unity and governance. Latin America's eclipse, power struggles and economic shifts reshape the region. As the eclipse crosses the skies of Latin America, countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico stand at the precipice of political realignments and economic shifts. The tension from Pluto's square manifests as internal power struggles, where leadership structures are tested and corruption scandals may come to light. Governments may face a wave of public dissatisfaction, leading to significant political upheavals. Yet, this period is also ripe for new beginnings. Diplomatic negotiations may bring forth fresh trade agreements or alliances, though the road to these developments will be fraught with diplomatic disputes and economic instability. In the plazas and government halls of Latin America, leaders may struggle to maintain their grip on power as the eclipse exposes the cracks in their authority. Citizens, meanwhile, demand fairness, justice, and a new direction for their nations. Pluto square, the Libra solar eclipse, power struggles, and global transformation unleashed. As the Libra solar eclipse on October 2nd, 2024, casts its shadow over the world, it is not merely a celestial phenomenon, but a cosmic harbinger of deep-seated change. The eclipse forms a potent square with Pluto in Capricorn, intensifying power struggles, shaking leadership structures, and thrusting diplomacy and economic systems into turmoil. The energy of this eclipse is one of dramatic upheaval, where old systems and hidden dynamics are laid bare, forcing transformative change in ways that will reverberate globally. In a world already grappling with uncertainty, this solar eclipse serves as a pivotal moment, a point of no return for global leadership, diplomacy, and financial systems. The following key events will shape the narrative of a world on the brink of rebirth. Cracks in the tower. Leadership crises emerge as power structures collapse. Beneath the ominous alignment of Pluto's transformative energy and the Libra solar eclipse, expect leadership structures across the globe to buckle under the weight of emerging scandals, public outcry, and long-hidden power dynamics. Pluto, sitting at the final degree of Capricorn, signifies the culmination of its relentless push to dismantle the old guard, those political and corporate leaders who have clung to power through corruption, secrecy, or outdated authority. This eclipse will be the catalyst that unearths their misdeeds and magnifies their vulnerabilities. Picture boardrooms filled with corporate elites grappling with sudden revelations of fraud or governments on the brink of collapse as leadership transitions are forced by overwhelming public dissatisfaction. In countries with fragile political systems, this eclipse may serve as the final blow, sparking abrupt leadership changes that pave the way for new governance, but not without fierce resistance from those unwilling to relinquish control. Diplomacy under siege. International negotiations fracture amid rising tensions. The Libra solar eclipse naturally draws attention to diplomacy, fairness, and justice. However, with Pluto squaring this eclipse, diplomatic negotiations are destined to be anything but smooth. International relationships, long-standing alliances and treaties will face intense scrutiny, and the cracks in these partnerships may widen into chasms. Behind closed doors, intense power struggles play out, with negotiations teetering on the edge of breakdown as nations grapple with realigning their global positions. In Europe, the once solid diplomatic pillars between nations like Germany, France, and Italy may begin to crumble under the weight of economic strain and divergent political agendas. Across the globe, international treaties could be rewritten, partnerships restructured, but only after fierce battles that pit old alliances against new emerging forces. Economic rebirth, Pluto's influence forces financial systems into transformation. Perhaps one of the most far-reaching impacts of this Pluto square eclipse lies in the realm of global economics. As Pluto exerts its relentless pressure on governance and authority, economic systems, particularly in North America and Europe, will undergo significant scrutiny and overhaul. Financial crises, corporate governance scandals, and outdated regulatory frameworks will be exposed, forcing governments and corporations to respond with sweeping economic reforms. Imagine boardrooms across Wall Street buzzing with the realization that long-standing corporate practices are no longer sustainable. In Europe, financial systems may face severe pressure to realign with modern demands, especially in light of increasing public outcry over economic inequality. Reforms may include stronger regulatory frameworks, corporate restructuring, and shifts in financial markets designed to restore balance in a time of profound change. Jupiter in Gemini, the cosmic force behind intellectual diplomacy at the Libra solar eclipse. As the Libra solar eclipse casts its transformative shadow on October 2nd, 2024, another celestial player, Jupiter in Gemini, quietly stirs the global atmosphere. Although Jupiter doesn't form a direct aspect to the eclipse, its presence in communicative Gemini infuses the air with intellectual curiosity, diplomacy, and a hunger for dialogue. As the world grapples with the power struggles and shifts triggered by Pluto's tense square to the eclipse, Jupiter's expansive energy offers a critical undercurrent, pushing nations and leaders toward negotiation, understanding, and the exchange of ideas. In the backdrop of this cosmic storm, Jupiter in Gemini stands as a beacon of hope, encouraging intellectual frameworks, legal reforms, and diplomatic solutions to the chaos unfolding on the world stage. But how will this planet's influence shape the narrative of this fateful moment? Bridging the divide, Jupiter's intellectual influence on global diplomacy and legal reforms. In the global theater of 2024, where power dynamics shift and alliances face upheaval, Jupiter in Gemini becomes the guiding force for diplomacy and intellectual breakthroughs. Picture diplomats in ornate halls, exchanging ideas and drafting agreements under the soft glow of anticipation. Jupiter in Gemini amplifies this energy, driving international leaders toward the negotiation table, urging them to use their intellect rather than might. This energy fosters groundbreaking dialogue on topics like trade, climate change, and human rights, issues that are of profound global importance. With tensions heightened by the eclipse Pluto square, Jupiter's presence in Gemini helps cool the flames of conflict, encouraging nations to explore innovative solutions through communication and shared knowledge. The Architects of Change, how Jupiter in Gemini shapes legal reforms in a transforming world. Jupiter in Gemini isn't just about talk, it's about substance. The influence of this planet brings with it the potential for profound intellectual breakthroughs, particularly in the legal and diplomatic realms. Imagine law scholars, policymakers, and global leaders gathered around, crafting new frameworks to address the challenges of modern governance, trade policies, and human rights, all under the intellectual light of Jupiter's Gemini influence. With Pluto's transformative energy in the mix, legal systems may see reforms that are long overdue. Complex negotiations about trade agreements, climate policies, and international human rights will be refined and polished, guided by Jupiter's expansive vision. These intellectual developments will not be mere fleeting changes, but lasting frameworks that shape the future of international relations. Balancing the scales, how Jupiter's wisdom offers hope amid Pluto's power struggles. The cosmic clash between Pluto and the solar eclipse hints at power struggles and leadership crises, but Jupiter's influence in Gemini serves as the much-needed counterbalance. While Pluto seeks to dismantle and transform, Jupiter seeks to expand through wisdom and dialogue. Imagine a chessboard where every move is carefully calculated. Jupiter in Gemini represents the strategic players who think several steps ahead, using intellect to resolve the disruptions caused by Pluto's heavy hand. In this turbulent period, Jupiter offers a path forward through conversation, diplomacy, and legal strategy. The planet's expansive energy helps leaders and nations find common ground, even amid the most contentious of negotiations. In essence, Jupiter in Gemini acts as the peacemaker in a world on the brink of radical change, emphasizing that with knowledge and communication, balance can be restored. Saturn in Pisces and the Libra solar eclipse, a time of compromise and recalibration. As the Libra solar eclipse casts its shadow across the globe on October 2nd, 2024, a subtle but crucial cosmic interaction quietly emerges. Saturn in Pisces forms a wide quincunx to the eclipse. Though not as volatile as Pluto's square, this alignment speaks to the quiet yet profound need for adjustment. Imagine the delicate balance of scales, tipping ever so slightly, requiring careful recalibration. Saturn's presence in compassionate Pisces emphasizes the necessity of compromise, responsibility, and long-term vision. Governments, healthcare systems, and social structures are being asked to realign, adapt, and embrace the evolving demands of a world in flux. Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, in Pisces, a sign known for its empathy and fluidity, suggests a moment of quiet reckoning. The eclipse signals that governance, healthcare, and social welfare systems must now undergo crucial transformations, not with immediate overhaul, but through thoughtful compromise and gradual adjustments. Reshaping healthcare, Saturn's compassionate influence on global reforms. As Saturn in Pisces casts its influence, healthcare systems and social welfare programs stand at a pivotal crossroads. Imagine leaders in boardrooms and government offices across the world grappling with the weight of their responsibilities. Saturn whispers for compassionate governance, urging those in power to acknowledge the cracks in existing systems, particularly those affecting the most vulnerable. In countries like the United States, Canada, and across Europe, there's a heightened awareness that healthcare and social welfare programs, long strained, can no longer afford to operate on outdated frameworks. The quincunx to the eclipse signals the need for adjustments, careful, measured, and deeply conscious of the human element. In the wake of economic or political crises, nations will be prompted to reassess their healthcare infrastructure, ensuring it can provide long-term stability and greater access for all. Saturn's influence demands responsibility and empathy, pushing for reforms that not only serve the privileged, but also uplift those on society's margins. Leadership on the edge, Saturn's influence pushes for governance reforms. The quincunx between Saturn in Pisces and the Libra solar eclipse paints a complex picture of governance during this transformative period. Leaders, both political and corporate, find themselves in unfamiliar territory. Imagine them standing at the helm of ships, navigating choppy waters, uncertain of the precise adjustments needed to steer through the storm. Saturn's influence, with its emphasis on long-term planning and social responsibility, demands that these leaders think not just about immediate gains, but about the future stability of their nations and organizations. However, the quincunx aspect suggests that this path forward is far from straightforward. It is a time of compromise. Decisions will not come easily, and implementing governance reforms will require a delicate balancing act. Leaders must be flexible, willing to let go of rigid ideologies, and instead embrace policies that reflect the evolving needs of their populations. Healthcare, social welfare, and leadership structures will all undergo reassessment, demanding a new approach to governance that is both empathetic and resilient. The Libra solar eclipse and its impact on global identity and leadership, a celestial turning point. As the cosmos aligns on October 2nd, 2024, the Libra solar eclipse will cast a transformative shadow across nations, marking a pivotal moment in global identity, leadership, and governance. Eclipses are known for ushering in significant changes, and this one, steeped in the symbolism of Libra, emphasizes diplomacy, balance, and justice. The eclipse's alignment with Pluto in Capricorn adds a layer of intensity, suggesting that power structures and legal systems will undergo profound shifts. Governments, institutions, and nations will feel the weight of these cosmic forces as the world holds its breath for what comes next. The stage is set for power struggles, reforms, and the reshaping of global alliances. This eclipse isn't just a fleeting celestial event. It is a catalyst for global transformation, touching the heart of national identities and the public images of major powers. From the corridors of the United Nations to the political capitals of the world, the reverberations of this eclipse will be felt across every sector of global life. First house eclipse, redefining national identity and leadership. When the Libra solar eclipse graces the first house of a nation's chart, it marks a profound shift in how a country views itself and how it is perceived by the rest of the world. Imagine a nation standing before a mirror, reassessing its public image, leadership, and values. The first house is the face that a country presents to the world, and this eclipse forces a deep reevaluation of that identity. In nations affected by this placement, expect major changes in leadership and public policy, especially in areas of justice, governance, and international relations. Libra's influence in the first house brings questions of fairness, diplomacy, and balance to the forefront. These nations may grapple with their role in the global community, striving to present a more just and equitable image. Reforms in justice systems, leadership transitions, and shifts in foreign alliances are likely as countries work to align their national character with the ideals of fairness and diplomacy. The United States and Canada, leadership shifts and the rebirth of national identity. In North America, the eclipse's impact on the first house will be most keenly felt in the United States and Canada. These two nations, often seen as beacons of democracy and leadership, will undergo significant transformations in how they project their power and values on the world stage. Leadership shifts are possible, whether through political elections, policy reforms, or unexpected transitions in government. As the eclipse highlights questions of justice, there may be heated public debates about the fairness of national institutions, prompting reforms that emphasize equity and balance. These countries may also forge new international alliances, reshaping their global image as they seek to present themselves as more diplomatic and fair-minded powers. Expect significant changes in how these nations handle foreign policy, with a greater focus on international collaboration and justice. United Nations, a new chapter in global leadership. For the United Nations, This eclipse represents a turning point in its role as a mediator of global conflicts and a champion of international diplomacy. The eclipse in the first house of the UN's chart signals a re-evaluation of its image and leadership. With the spotlight on justice and balance, the UN may unveil new initiatives aimed at resolving key global disputes, particularly in regions plagued by long-standing conflict. The eclipse's alignment with Pluto suggests that this transformation will not be without challenges. Power struggles within the organization, as well as global tensions, will test the UN's ability to maintain its leadership role. However, this period also presents an opportunity for the UN to redefine itself as a more powerful force for global peace and justice, strengthening its image as a leader in international diplomacy. The Libra solar eclipse of October 2024, a cosmic trigger for national crises and diplomatic shifts. As the skies darken on October 2nd, 2024, the Libra solar eclipse will cast its transformative shadow across nations, acting as a catalyst for deep national and international changes. The eclipse will illuminate issues of justice, diplomacy, security, and alliances, with the cosmic alignment shaping how nations handle their most pressing internal and external conflicts. Eclipses are moments of reckoning, bringing unresolved tensions to the surface and creating a sense of urgency for reform and negotiation. This Libra solar eclipse, with its intense aspects to Pluto, signals that change will not come without conflict. Power struggles, territorial disputes, and diplomatic realignments are all on the horizon. Homeland security and internal crises, the eclipse's grip on national stability. When the Libra solar eclipse strikes the fourth house in a nation's chart, it casts a spotlight on matters of homeland security, territorial disputes, and internal governance. The fourth house governs a country's foundations, its sense of domestic stability, and the land it calls home. Under the influence of Libra, this eclipse brings forth issues of justice and diplomacy, but also underscores a deep need for balance in managing territorial and security challenges. Countries affected by this placement may find themselves at a crossroads, facing national crises that force them to address both internal governance and the protection of their borders. Expect heightened focus on territorial disputes and internal reforms aimed at stabilizing national governance and strengthening defense systems. The tension between justice and power, symbolized by Libra's balancing scales, suggests that these crises will revolve around fairness, with reforms designed to restore equilibrium to regions marred by instability. Russia and Eastern Europe, the eclipse's shadow on border disputes and security. In Russia and parts of Eastern Europe, the fourth house eclipse is likely to bring unresolved territorial disputes to the forefront, sparking debates over historical borders and internal security. Nations like Ukraine and Russia may find themselves drawn into conflicts that challenge their territorial integrity, with border tensions escalating or being reconsidered in light of the eclipse's energy. National security reforms, driven by a need for greater stability, could emerge as governments react to internal unrest and territorial threats. As the cosmic forces push for balance, there may also be diplomatic efforts to resolve long-standing disputes, although such negotiations will not be without their struggles. Middle East, homeland security and territorial tensions ignite. In the volatile landscape of the Middle East, nations like Israel, Palestine, and Syria are poised to feel the weight of the eclipse as territorial tensions flare. The fourth house eclipse signals heightened concerns over national security and border conflicts, with the potential for both internal crises and external diplomatic efforts to resolve these long-standing issues. Expect renewed attempts at peace talks, but also be prepared for the Pluto square to inject power struggles into the process. Leaders may grapple with both external threats and internal challenges to governance, as nations struggle to find balance in a region long marked by instability. Diplomatic realignments and alliances under the eclipse's influence. When an eclipse lands in the seventh house of a nation's chart, it lights up the realm of international relations, diplomacy, and alliances. The seventh house governs treaties, partnerships, and open enemies, making this solar eclipse a significant marker for shifts in global diplomacy. Libra's natural rulership over this house emphasizes the need for balance and justice in international dealings, but the intensity of Pluto's square suggests that these negotiations will be far from easy. Expect major realignments in global alliances, with new treaties being signed, existing partnerships revised, and diplomatic conflicts likely to emerge. This eclipse is a harbinger of change in international relations, with countries recalibrating their positions on the world stage. While new alliances may form, they will not come without resistance. Pluto's influence ensures that power struggles and leadership crises will challenge even the most well-intentioned diplomatic efforts. European Union, shifting alliances, and contentious negotiations. For the European Union, the seventh house eclipse signals a period of diplomatic realignment, both within the Union and in its relations with non-EU countries. Nations like Germany, France, and Italy will feel the strain of the eclipse as they navigate new partnerships and trade agreements. The Libra influence emphasizes diplomacy, but the Pluto square suggests that these negotiations will be fraught with tension. Leadership disputes within the EU may complicate efforts to forge new alliances as internal power struggles come to a head. However, this is also a time of opportunity. New treaties could pave the way for stronger economic and political cooperation if leaders can navigate the eclipse's challenges. Middle East and North Africa, diplomatic shifts and new alliances. In the Middle East and North Africa, countries such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey will experience significant diplomatic negotiations under the eclipse's influence. The seventh house alignment suggests the potential for new alliances or the resolution of long-standing conflicts through diplomatic efforts. However, with Pluto in the mix, these negotiations are likely to be accompanied by power struggles and resistance from entrenched leadership. Expect diplomatic breakthroughs to come only after intense discussions and potential upheavals within governments as they seek to redefine their international relationships. A solar eclipse in the 10th house, leadership crises, diplomatic realignments, and power shifts. As the Libra solar eclipse dawns on October 2nd, 2024, it shines a penetrating light into the 10th house of mundane astrology, where government, leadership, and national authority are ruled. In the heart of this cosmic event, Pluto in Capricorn squares the eclipse, intensifying the stakes and bringing the promise of upheaval. This celestial configuration signals that we are entering a period of profound change, one marked by leadership crises, governmental reforms, and the dismantling of long-standing power structures. The echoes of this eclipse will ripple through governments and corporations alike, heralding a time of reckoning for leaders across the globe. The United States faces leadership turmoil and governance shifts. In the US, the Libra solar eclipse strikes at the very core of national authority, leadership. As the eclipse pierces through the 10th house, it unearths long-buried tensions within government institutions. Political scandals or deep-seated power struggles, amplified by the ominous square to Pluto, threaten to destabilize current leadership. This is a time of critical reckoning for the nation's leaders as they face challenges from both internal forces and external pressures. The stage for transformation in US. As Pluto exerts its transformative force, expect shifts in the very nature of governance. The cracks in the foundation of leadership may widen, leading to dramatic changes in how authority is wielded and who remains in power. Economic pressures could serve as the catalyst for these changes, thrusting new leaders onto the scene, while others are forced to relinquish their grip on power. With the eclipse's energy pushing for justice and balance, the public demand for accountability will grow louder, compelling reforms in government, transparency, and policymaking. China prepares for leadership transitions amid economic pressures. In China, the Libra solar eclipse casts its transformative light over the nation's leadership, suggesting a period of critical transition. As the eclipse occurs in the 10th house of governance, it reveals simmering tensions within China's political hierarchy. Pluto's square to the eclipse signals that power struggles may soon erupt into the open, forcing leadership transitions and policy shifts aimed at stabilizing the nation's economy. Reforming leadership amid economic uncertainty. The weight of economic reform rests heavily on China's shoulders during this period. The pressures of global partnerships, trade negotiations, and the need for economic stability will drive the government towards structural reforms. As leadership transitions unfold, expect China to adopt new strategies for securing its economic future. These changes will not be smooth, as the eclipse suggests that internal power battles will determine the direction of governance and economic policies. Diplomatic realignments shake global alliances. The Libra solar eclipse, with its square to Pluto, holds profound implications for the diplomatic sphere. International relations, long held together by fragile alliances and unspoken agreements, are poised for dramatic shifts. Diplomatic realignments will be inevitable as nations reassess their positions and forge new treaties. However, Pluto's influence warns that these negotiations will be fraught with conflict and tension. Power imbalances will rise to the surface, creating friction between nations seeking to redefine their global roles. The European Union and NATO, navigating diplomatic shifts. The European Union and NATO, in particular, will experience significant realignments. This eclipse signals the possibility of nations reconfiguring their diplomatic strategies and security partnerships. Countries within these organizations may seek new alliances or redefine existing ones as they navigate a rapidly shifting global landscape. The process will not be without its challenges, as Pluto's square brings intense pressure to bear on these negotiations, making diplomatic breakthroughs hard-won and often accompanied by discord. Justice and legal systems undergo radical shifts. Libra's inherent association with justice finds powerful expression during this eclipse, particularly with Pluto's square exerting its influence. This celestial alignment heralds a period of significant legal reforms, particularly in matters of government power and diplomacy. Pluto's transformative force suggests that entrenched power structures within legal systems may face dramatic overhauls, potentially reshaping international law, human rights legislation, and corporate governance. International Court of Justice, a central stage for legal reform. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, may find itself at the center of these dramatic legal shifts. Major rulings or precedents could emerge from this period, particularly in areas such as international trade disputes and human rights cases. The eclipse's call for balance and justice will prompt governments and institutions to reevaluate how legal power is exercised on a global scale, leading to profound reforms in the way international law is interpreted and applied. Economic reforms and leadership crises shake global financial markets. Pluto's square to the Libra solar eclipse suggests a period of leadership crises that will send shockwaves through global financial markets. Governments and corporations alike will face intense scrutiny, leading to economic reforms aimed at addressing corruption, financial instability, and power imbalances. As leadership transitions unfold in key regions such as North America, Europe, and China, the global economy will experience turbulence. Financial markets may react unpredictably as new economic policies are implemented to restore confidence and stability. Global financial markets brace for disruptions. North America, Europe, and China are poised to undergo significant financial disruptions during this period. As leadership transitions play out and economic reforms take shape, the stability of global markets will be tested. Expect volatility as corporations face leadership changes and governments work to implement new economic frameworks. The ripple effects of these transitions will be felt across industries, with financial markets reacting to the uncertainty and unpredictability of the changing global landscape. A fiery eclipse, the partial lunar eclipse in Aries, and its global repercussions on October 17, 2024. As the night sky darkens on October 17, 2024, the partial lunar eclipse in Aries emerges, casting a powerful celestial shadow that echoes themes of leadership, military action, and self-determination. Positioned at 24 degrees Aries, this eclipse ignites the fiery Aries-Libra axis, a cosmic battleground between individual autonomy and collective diplomacy. Aries, ruled by the aggressive force of Mars, symbolizes war, conflict, and bold leadership, while Libra represents the pursuit of balance and cooperation. Under the intense influence of this lunar event, the world stands on the precipice of decisions that will reshape the future of nations, governments, and global alliances. Lunar eclipses mark culminations, times when hidden tensions come to light, revealing the underlying dynamics of power struggles and pushing events toward dramatic conclusions. In Aries, this eclipse fuels assertiveness, emboldening nations and leaders to make decisive moves, particularly where conflicts and territorial disputes have been simmering. As the light of the moon is partially obscured, expect the global landscape to reflect heightened tensions, confrontations, and bold declarations. Culminations in leadership conflicts and military escalations. This lunar eclipse in Aries will be marked by a climactic surge in leadership challenges and military confrontations. Aries, the sign of war and self-assertion, emphasizes decisive action, particularly in regions where power struggles have intensified or where military tensions have long been brewing. Under the gaze of this full moon, assertive decisions will likely be made, military escalations will peak, and leadership transitions will unfold, often in ways that challenge diplomacy and global stability. The battlefield of Aries, leadership and military conflicts reach a boiling point. As the eclipse unfolds, its Martian energy propels global leaders and nations into decisive military posturing. Aries' association with boldness and conflict suggests that this is a time when military confrontations, leadership disputes, and territorial claims may escalate toward resolution, either through diplomacy or through force. Those nations with powerful Aries influences in their charts, particularly where territorial tensions already simmer, may find themselves thrust into conflict or challenged by leadership crises that require immediate action. Asia's military tensions flare amid territorial conflicts. In the vast and politically complex regions of Asia, the Aries lunar eclipse will amplify ongoing territorial disputes and military confrontations. The fiery nature of Aries, combined with the full force of a lunar eclipse, could ignite heightened military actions and escalations, particularly where tensions over borders and sovereignty have been growing. China and Taiwan, a standoff in the South China Sea. China, with its deep-rooted territorial ambitions, particularly regarding Taiwan and the South China Sea, could find itself propelled into bold and assertive military actions. The eclipse in Aries stirs the waters of territorial ambition, pushing China toward decisions that could heighten tensions with Taiwan and neighboring countries. As this lunar event unfolds, expect assertive military posturing from China, with potential naval maneuvers or territorial declarations aimed at solidifying control over contested regions. This moment may mark a turning point in China's approach to its broader geopolitical goals, as the influence of Aries emboldens its leadership. India-China border, a flashpoint of escalating tensions. The long-standing territorial disputes between India and China are likely to reach a new level of intensity under this eclipse. Aries, with its warlike tendencies, drives both nations toward assertiveness, and the volatile energy of the lunar eclipse could trigger new military escalations along their shared border. Diplomatic confrontations may flare as both nations vie for control and assert their national interests, leaving little room for compromise. Middle East leadership crises and military tensions intensify. The Aries lunar eclipse will catalyze leadership challenges and military escalations. Aries, the warrior sign, invokes an atmosphere of conflict and assertiveness, signaling a period of bold moves by regional leaders and military forces. As power struggles emerge, the Middle East could see leadership crises deepen, particularly in nations where political instability or internal conflicts already simmer. Iran and Israel, strategic interests at a boiling point. Iran, a nation often at the center of regional power dynamics, could find itself in the throes of military confrontation or leadership crises during this eclipse. With internal political tensions high and strategic interests under pressure, the Aries lunar eclipse will act as a catalyst for assertive military actions or leadership decisions. Israel, too, could be swept up in this wave of assertiveness, with potential military escalations aimed at safeguarding its national security. The eclipse may trigger bold actions that redefine alliances or provoke territorial confrontations, setting the stage for future conflicts or peace negotiations. Syria and surrounding regions, power struggles and leadership crises. Syria, still grappling with the aftermath of civil war and political instability, may experience heightened military and leadership tensions under the influence of the eclipse. As the lunar event magnifies Aries' themes of war and conflict, expect increased military activity or power struggles within the region. Leadership transitions or the assertion of new political forces could emerge, challenging the fragile balance of power and leading to military escalations or diplomatic efforts aimed at quelling unrest. The fiery eclipse, leadership crises, and the battle for independence during the Aries lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024. As the moon is partially veiled in shadow on October 17, 2024, the cosmos sets the stage for a dramatic, tension-filled event, the partial lunar eclipse in Aries. This celestial event is more than just an astronomical wonder. It's a symbolic reflection of the fierce energies at play on Earth. Aries, the sign of war, leadership, and self-assertion, reigns over this eclipse, marking a pivotal moment where bold decisions and power struggles come to the forefront. Throughout history, Aries has embodied the archetype of the warrior, pushing forward with relentless drive, unafraid to confront the status quo. As the world watches, leaders, nations, and movements are thrust into situations demanding decisive, even forceful action. With the eclipse illuminating the Aries-Libra axis, the contrast between individual assertion and collective diplomacy comes into sharp focus. Expect leadership crises to bubble over, power shifts to unfold, and independence movements to charge forward. Across the globe, this eclipse will mark a climactic moment of leadership challenges and self-determination, as regions already teetering on the edge of conflict or political instability push toward resolution or further chaos. Leadership crises erupt under the fiery gaze of Aries. Under the penetrating light of the Aries lunar eclipse, leadership is tested in a crucible of crisis. This eclipse brings the dynamic energy of Aries to bear on leadership figures worldwide, sparking intense confrontations, power struggles, and bold decisions. Aries is the warrior sign ruled by Mars, and it doesn't shy away from conflict. Leaders may find themselves facing a reckoning as public dissatisfaction, internal opposition, or external pressures force them to take assertive, sometimes aggressive actions. Governments and military forces across the globe may seize the moment to assert control, consolidate power, or confront long-standing rivals. Asia, power struggles and leadership transitions reach a breaking point. In Asia, nations already wrestling with political instability and leadership transitions will feel the eclipse's full force. Myanmar, where political turmoil has plagued the nation since its coup, could see fresh confrontations as factions within the country jockey for control. Leadership confrontations will escalate, with internal power dynamics reaching a fever pitch. The fiery energy of Aries could lead to bold, decisive moves by those vying for power, resulting in either political resolution or further destabilization. Meanwhile, China, always a global force to be reckoned with, may use the eclipse's Martian influence to assert its dominance on the world stage. Territorial disputes, such as those with Taiwan, could prompt China's leadership to take bold military or diplomatic actions. These moves may be aimed at consolidating power, both at home and abroad, signaling China's intent to solidify its global position amid mounting international pressure. Pakistan, another nation that has often been at the crossroads of political tension, could also experience heightened leadership struggles during the eclipse. The eclipse's assertive energy could push political leaders to make critical, even divisive decisions as power dynamics shift within the government.
Africa on the brink, leadership conflicts and military power struggles intensify. The Aries eclipse throws a spotlight on Africa, a continent grappling with ongoing military conflicts and political instability. In regions like Ethiopia and Sudan, where internal wars and leadership crises have torn through the fabric of society, this eclipse may bring confrontations to a boiling point. Military factions may take bold, decisive actions, triggering leadership transitions or, alternatively, escalating violence. Ethiopia and Sudan, a tipping point for leadership and military power. In Ethiopia, where civil war has raged between the government and Tigray forces, the eclipse could act as a catalyst for decisive military actions or political upheaval. Aries' influence may drive leaders or military commanders to take bold steps in an attempt to resolve the conflict, though these actions may also intensify the violence. Sudan, embroiled in its own struggles for power and governance, could experience similar confrontations as military factions and political leaders grapple for control. Leadership transitions may emerge as the eclipse forces a showdown between competing powers, potentially reshaping the political landscape. The March for Independence gains momentum. Aries' assertive energy doesn't just stir leadership conflicts, it also fuels independence movements and demands for greater autonomy. Across the globe, regions seeking self-determination are poised to push forward with greater intensity, seizing on the eclipse's bold energy to make decisive moves toward autonomy. Movements that have been simmering for years may now boil over, demanding the attention of both local governments and the international community. Catalonia and Scotland, bold moves for independence. In Europe, regions like Catalonia in Spain and Scotland in the United Kingdom could see a surge in demands for independence. The Aries eclipse provides the boldness these movements need to take decisive action, possibly pushing for referendums or new strategies to achieve sovereignty. In Scotland, the push for a second independence referendum could gain momentum, with leaders capitalizing on the assertive energy of Aries to advance their cause. Catalonia, a region with a long history of seeking independence from Spain, could see heightened tensions as regional leaders make bold moves to further their agenda. Eastern Europe's separatist movements reach a critical moment. The Aries lunar eclipse may also intensify separatist movements in Eastern Europe, where pro-Russian factions and other groups seeking independence could assert control over disputed territories. This is a time for bold decisions, and the eclipse may prompt separatist leaders to take advantage of the global spotlight, making decisive moves that could lead to territorial changes or military escalations. Ukraine's eastern regions, bold moves by pro-Russian separatists. In Ukraine's eastern regions, where pro-Russian separatists have long sought to break away from Ukraine, the eclipse's energy could spark renewed military actions or declarations of independence. Aries, ruled by Mars, represents war and conflict, and its influence may push separatist groups to assert their control over disputed territories with newfound aggression. These actions could escalate tensions not just within Ukraine, but also with the broader international community, potentially prompting diplomatic intervention or military responses. The eclipse of bold moves. Global power struggles and leadership shifts during the Aries lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024. As the partial lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024, cloaks the moon in a shadow of uncertainty, The world braces for a cosmic event charged with assertiveness and tension. Occurring at 24 degrees Aries, a sign ruled by Mars, this eclipse marks a pivotal moment of global upheaval, leadership challenges, and military confrontations. Aries, the embodiment of war, independence, and bold action, intensifies this full moon's power, creating a perfect storm of assertive global actions. Nations are poised to take dramatic steps that may forever alter international relations, military dynamics, and leadership structures. The Aries-Libra axis, spotlighted by this eclipse, emphasizes the delicate balance between individual power, Aries, and diplomacy, Libra. But the square to Pluto in Capricorn adds a layer of intensity, heightening the stakes and turning leadership conflicts, power struggles, and military actions into monumental global events. The world will witness culminations, battles for control and dominance, revealing hidden motives, triggering assertive decisions, and setting the stage for a new era in global governance.
Assertive actions under the blood moon, global power struggles intensify. As the moon glows with the fiery energy of Aries, the full force of assertiveness surges across the globe. Lunar eclipses signify culmination points, and in Aries, they emphasize bold actions and power struggles. Leaders and nations may be pushed to make decisive, often aggressive, moves to assert their authority. This eclipse could ignite military conflicts, leadership transitions, or shifts in international alliances. The time for subtle diplomacy is over. Aries demands action. United States, bold military moves and leadership challenges. In the United States, the Aries lunar eclipse signals a decisive moment for leadership and military action. Under the heightened scrutiny of the eclipse, U.S. leadership may find itself grappling with internal challenges or public dissatisfaction, especially regarding military engagements abroad. This period could mark a turning point in U.S. foreign policy, where assertive responses to ongoing global conflicts or new military actions become inevitable. The world will be watching as the U.S. faces a defining moment in its leadership role, forced to choose between diplomacy and assertive action. The history of U.S. involvement in global conflicts is long and complex, from the world wars to modern-day engagements in the Middle East. The eclipse's energy brings echoes of past leadership challenges, such as those faced by Roosevelt during World War II or Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Today's leadership will similarly confront decisions that could either stabilize global relations or ignite further conflict. Middle East braces for military tensions and leadership shifts. In the Middle East, a region marked by centuries of conflict and power struggles, the Aries lunar eclipse could spark heightened military tensions and leadership crises. Aries, known for its warrior spirit, may intensify ongoing conflicts or push nations to take assertive actions to protect their interests. The eclipse's influence could bring power struggles within governments, forcing leaders to either strengthen their grip or face downfall. Iran, Israel, and Turkey, the battle for power and territory. For nations like Iran, Israel, and Turkey, the eclipse marks a critical turning point in military confrontations and leadership dynamics. Territorial disputes, political pressures, and military confrontations that have simmered for months may come to a head during this celestial event. Aries, ruled by Mars, ignites the desire for bold, decisive actions, potentially escalating territorial conflicts or political maneuvers. In Israel, ongoing tensions with neighboring countries could reach a climax, while in Iran, leadership transitions or military posturing may dominate the narrative. Turkey, historically a bridge between East and West, could also be thrust into assertive military actions or leadership confrontations, particularly in response to regional power dynamics. From the Ottoman Empire to the modern-day Republic, Turkey has often found itself at the center of regional power struggles, and this eclipse may reignite old tensions. The Aries eclipse, triggering global military conflicts and assertive leadership. Lunar eclipses have long been seen as harbingers of change, and when in Aries, the sign of war and action, the stakes are even higher. This eclipse could trigger a wave of military conflicts and power shifts across the globe, particularly in regions already marked by tension and unrest. The eclipse square to Pluto in Capricorn amplifies this dynamic, adding an element of deep-rooted power struggles and leadership confrontations. Asia, territorial conflicts and military escalations. In Asia, the Aries lunar eclipse is likely to heighten territorial conflicts and military posturing. Countries such as China, India, and Taiwan may experience a dramatic escalation in territorial disputes, with assertive military actions being taken under the influence of the warlike energy of Aries. China, already locked in a delicate balance with Taiwan and its neighbors over the South China Sea, could take decisive steps to assert its dominance. In India, the long-standing border dispute with China may flare up once again, with both nations making bold moves to secure their territories. The history of territorial disputes in Asia is long and fraught, from the Sino-Indian War of 1962 to modern-day tensions over the line of actual control. The eclipse's energy could bring a new chapter to these conflicts, with assertive actions being taken that may define the region's future.
Global power shifts, leadership confrontations under the fiery gaze of the eclipse. The partial lunar eclipse in Aries is not just about military confrontations. It also marks a turning point in global leadership. Aries represents bold, independent action, and leadership figures worldwide may find themselves at a crossroads, facing intense public scrutiny or internal power struggles. Those who fail to take decisive action may find their authority slipping away, while others may rise to power through assertive, even aggressive maneuvers. Leadership challenges in Africa, bold moves amid conflict. In Africa, the eclipse's energy may exacerbate leadership crises in nations already grappling with political instability. In countries such as Ethiopia and Sudan, where internal conflicts have ravaged governance structures, the Aries eclipse may push leadership figures to make decisive, perhaps even risky moves to assert control. The historical legacy of military coups and leadership transitions in Africa will resonate deeply during this eclipse, as new leaders may emerge, either through bold action or sheer necessity. A blood moon of power struggles, the Aries lunar eclipse, and Pluto's challenge to global authority. As the partial lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024 looms on the horizon, a cosmic clash of titanic forces builds. The moon, bathed in the fierce light of Aries at 24 degrees, faces off against Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, deep in its final degrees of transformative power. This tense square between the lunar eclipse and Pluto hints at seismic shifts in leadership, economic power, and military might. Under the intense, fiery energy of Aries, ruled by warlike Mars, global tensions rise to a boiling point, promising that what has been hidden, unresolved, or festering beneath the surface will now burst into full view. This is no ordinary celestial event. The square between the lunar eclipse and Pluto speaks of old regimes reaching their breaking point, of leaderships on the brink of collapse, and of military escalations that will not be silenced. Aries, always urging bold action and self-assertion, collides with Pluto's deep transformative forces in Capricorn, dragging varied power struggles into the light. The air is charged with an electricity that promises action, swift, assertive, and irreversible. Across the globe, from the Middle East to Asia and Europe, the eclipse foretells upheaval, conflict, and the end of an era. Middle East braces for power struggles and geopolitical tensions. The volatile mix of the Aries lunar eclipse squaring Pluto sets the stage for major geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Leadership crises could emerge as ruling figures face internal challenges to their authority, and rivalries for regional dominance grow fiercer under the eclipse's red light. The heart of this region has long been the battleground for both ideological and territorial struggles, and this cosmic alignment promises no respite. Power shifts in Iran, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Iran, often teetering on the edge of political turbulence, may experience a deep internal struggle. Leadership crises, driven by Pluto's transformative pressure, could erupt into regional confrontations, potentially pulling neighboring countries into the fray. In Israel, military tensions could flare as conflicts with surrounding nations reach a tipping point. And Saudi Arabia, whose ruling elite has carefully maintained control over the years, may now face internal power struggles or external geopolitical challenges that threaten its regional influence. The eclipse foreshadows a moment of reckoning, where power hangs in the balance and bold moves will shape the region's future. The ancient crossroads of civilizations, the Middle East has always been a land of shifting sands and sudden changes. The echoes of past conquests, from the Persian Empire to the Ottoman rule, seem to reverberate through this eclipse, promising that another dramatic chapter is about to unfold.
Asia poised for military confrontations and territorial disputes. In Asia, the Aries lunar eclipse's square to Pluto signals potential military escalations, particularly in regions where territorial disputes have simmered for decades. Assertive military actions may come to the fore as nations grapple with sovereignty and regional dominance. Under Aries' assertive influence, global powers in this region are unlikely to back down, setting the stage for bold actions that could reshape borders and alliances. China, India, and North Korea on high alert. China's long-standing territorial claims, particularly in the South China Sea, may be thrust into the spotlight. This disputed region, with its strategic waters and competing claims, could see a surge in military posturing as the eclipse fuels assertive actions. Similarly, China's border tensions with India, rooted in decades of unresolved conflict, could reignite, bringing the potential for military clashes along their disputed frontiers. Meanwhile, in North Korea, bold demonstrations of military power, perhaps through missile tests or aggressive rhetoric, may emerge as the regime asserts its sovereignty in defiance of international pressure. Asia's historical context, from the dynastic struggles of ancient China to the modern-day geopolitical balancing act, adds weight to this eclipse. With leadership figures across the region steeped in a legacy of control and conquest, the potential for military actions during this eclipse cannot be understated. Europe faces economic crises and leadership upheavals. In Europe, the square between the Aries lunar eclipse and Pluto is likely to shake the foundations of governance. Leadership crises and economic struggles could arise, particularly in nations where internal political turmoil has been brewing. The forces of change are palpable as the eclipse brings tensions between leadership and economic stability to a critical point. Leadership shifts in France, Italy, and Germany. France, Italy, and Germany, three pillars of the European Union, may face their own leadership challenges under this lunar eclipse. The eclipse could spur governmental shakeups, bringing new leadership into power as old regimes falter under economic pressure and political dissatisfaction. Economic crises fueled by the eclipse's tense alignment with Pluto could force governments to adopt significant reforms or risk further instability. As these nations grapple with internal conflicts, the potential for wider European instability grows. Europe, with its deep historical roots of shifting powers and alliances, from the fall of the Roman Empire to the reshuffling after World War II, finds itself once again at a crossroads. The ancient capitals of Europe may soon witness another wave of political and economic transformations, as leaders are forced to make decisions that could change the continent's future. Military conflicts and assertive actions under Pluto's transformative gaze. The Aries lunar eclipse, in its square to Pluto, sets the stage for military conflicts and assertive global actions. The friction between Aries' bold energy and Pluto's transformative force creates a fertile ground for assertive military actions, where territorial disputes and leadership confrontations may reach their breaking points. This eclipse is a celestial catalyst, forcing nations to make decisive moves on the world stage. Global impact: assertive military actions and territorial disputes. Across the globe, territorial disputes may come to a head, with nations seizing the opportunity to assert control over contested lands. From Asia's disputed borders to the Middle East's long-standing territorial conflicts, the Aries lunar eclipse is likely to trigger assertive actions that could escalate into full-scale military confrontations. These actions may lead to global tensions or diplomatic crises, as nations respond to the eclipse's call for bold, unrelenting assertion of power. The world has seen such moments before, when territorial ambitions have led to wars, as in the early 20th century during the Balkan Wars, or during the Cold War, when global tensions simmered dangerously close to boiling. This eclipse, with its powerful alignment, could ignite another such moment, where the balance of power shifts dramatically.
Jupiter's promise amid chaos, a glimmer of diplomacy in the shadow of the Aries lunar eclipse. As the partial lunar eclipse in fiery Aries casts its shadow over the world on October 17, 2024, the heavens hold a tense dance between cosmic forces. The eclipse, steeped in Aries' warlike intensity, calls for bold moves, leadership challenges, and power plays. Yet, amidst this atmosphere of assertiveness and conflict, there is a quieter, subtler influence at work. Jupiter in Gemini forms a sextile with the Moon at 24 degrees Aries, offering a sliver of hope for diplomacy, dialogue, and negotiation. The juxtaposition of these two energies is striking. Aries, ruled by the combative Mars, thirsts for action and dominance, while Jupiter, in communicative Gemini, whispers of negotiation, intellectual breakthroughs, and diplomatic efforts to find common ground. In a world on the brink of conflict, the question arises: will the persuasive hand of Jupiter in Gemini be enough to quell the flames ignited by the eclipse? Global diplomacy attempts to break through conflict. Despite the aggressive undercurrent of the Aries lunar eclipse, Jupiter's sextile with the Moon introduces a much-needed dimension of diplomacy and intellectual resolution. Jupiter, stationed in Gemini, seeks to build bridges, fostering communication and intellectual dialogue, even as tensions threaten to erupt into full-scale conflict. With Jupiter's expansive, optimistic energy, encouraging conversation and mutual understanding, global leaders may seize this brief opportunity to engage in talks rather than military action. International organizations mediate conflicts. Amidst the crackling tension, organizations such as the United Nations or NATO could emerge as vital mediators. Jupiter in Gemini, with its emphasis on communication and negotiation, suggests that intellectual diplomacy might offer a lifeline in regions teetering on the edge of war. Expect international negotiations, spearheaded by these organizations, to attempt de-escalation in conflict zones. While the Aries eclipse suggests an impulse toward action, Jupiter's influence invites cooler heads to prevail, pushing for resolution rather than confrontation. The historical weight of these organizations, born out of previous global crises, lends an air of gravitas to their potential role. With a legacy of mediating peace and crafting treaties in times of great upheaval, their efforts during this eclipse period could echo their greatest achievements.
Diplomatic breakthroughs in the Middle East, a fragile hope. In the heart of the Middle East, where tensions have simmered for decades, the sextile between Jupiter and the Moon may offer a brief window for diplomatic breakthroughs. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Israel, long embroiled in political and military conflict, might find themselves inching toward the negotiation table. The combative energy of Aries, amplified by the eclipse, seems almost unstoppable, yet Jupiter's presence in Gemini suggests that even amidst war cries, there is a chance for dialogue. Ceasefires and diplomatic efforts take center stage. The diplomatic efforts in the Middle East may take the form of temporary ceasefires or agreements to negotiate peace. Jupiter, ever the optimist in Gemini, brings a willingness to talk, to listen, and to broker peace, even if only temporarily. These efforts may not be the final resolution, but they could offer a much-needed pause, a moment to breathe before hostilities resume. The stars seem to suggest that while war is in the air, the pen may still prove mightier than the sword, at least for now. Intellectual breakthroughs amid power struggles. Even as the world navigates power struggles and leadership crises under the Aries lunar eclipse, Jupiter in Gemini quietly nurtures intellectual breakthroughs. Where governments and military leaders are grappling with the eclipse's urge for bold, aggressive action, Jupiter's sextile with the Moon fosters innovation in communication strategies. Behind the scenes, thinkers, diplomats, and negotiators may find new ways to approach old conflicts, using intellectual finesse to outmaneuver brute force. Jupiter's role in shaping communication strategies. As power dynamics shift on the global stage, Jupiter's influence could inspire groundbreaking diplomatic strategies. These strategies may not immediately halt conflicts, but they offer hope for future resolution. Intellectual dialogue, bolstered by Jupiter's expansive nature, encourages leaders to reconsider their actions and perhaps take the less violent, more thoughtful route. In a world dominated by Aries' impulsive energy, Gemini's curiosity and dialogue could pave the way for new approaches to diplomacy. Jupiter's role here harkens back to moments in history when unexpected negotiations altered the course of wars, when the quiet power of words overtook the roar of cannons. This period could see similar moments, where diplomacy defies the expectation of violence, rewriting the narrative of conflict into one of negotiation.
Pluto's final stand, economic crises and political upheaval under the shadow of the eclipse. As Pluto lingers at the critical 29 degrees of Capricorn, its transformative energy reaches a climactic point, igniting tensions and exposing fractures in the world's economic and political systems. This positioning, square to the October 2024 lunar eclipse in Aries, promises to reshape global power dynamics, forcing nations to confront long-ignored issues rooted in corporate control, governmental authority, and financial structures. What once simmered beneath the surface will now boil over, compelling leaders and institutions to face the inevitable fallout of deep-rooted instability. The presence of Pluto at this degree marks the end of its long journey through Capricorn, a journey that has overseen dramatic shifts in governance and authority across the globe. But as this celestial force collides with the energies of the eclipse, the impact will be undeniable. Economic crises will deepen, leadership will falter, and governments will be pushed to implement reforms or risk collapse. North America on the brink, economic reforms and leadership challenges. In North America, the looming square between Pluto and the eclipse heralds a period of profound economic instability and potential political upheaval. The United States, a nation that prides itself on resilience and innovation, may face financial challenges unlike any it has experienced in recent decades. The fabric of its corporate governance, long intertwined with political power, could unravel as public outcry forces economic reforms. Will the American government be able to address the growing economic inequalities in time, or will the crisis propel leadership changes that redefine the nation's direction? The United States faces financial crisis and political transformation. The United States, with its history of market dominance and global leadership, now stands at the crossroads of economic reform and political reckoning. Pluto's influence suggests that systemic imbalances within the U.S. economy, fueled by corporate influence and widening wealth gaps, will become impossible to ignore. Leadership transitions may follow, as the public demands accountability and transparency from those in power. Historically, the U.S. has faced moments of political reinvention during economic downturns, and this period promises to test the resilience of both its economic systems and its leadership. A turning point is near, much like the Great Depression of the 1930s, or the economic reforms seen after the financial crisis of 2008. Leaders will be forced to confront the pressures of recession, and decisions made now will ripple through the decades to come. Canada confronts economic strain and political shifts. Canada, often seen as a stable and measured political entity, may not escape the transformative grip of Pluto's square to the eclipse. Economic strain could force leadership transitions and push the government to rethink its economic policies. Canada's political landscape, known for its balance and moderation, may face rare upheaval as it grapples with the financial pressures weighing down its systems. Economic reforms on the horizon amid political changes. Canada's calm and orderly political demeanor may be disrupted as Pluto's transformative energy exposes cracks in the country's economic foundation. The echoes of the 2008 recession, during which Canada weathered financial storms relatively unscathed, may not be enough to protect the country from what lies ahead. Leadership changes could occur as public demand for more equitable economic solutions grows louder. The struggle to maintain national unity during periods of financial hardship, especially in regions already contending with economic instability, could redefine Canada's leadership in the coming years. Europe's long-awaited reckoning, economic instability and reforms. In Europe, particularly in nations like Greece, Italy, and France, Pluto's presence at the 29th degree of Capricorn intensifies economic instability. These nations, already familiar with financial crises and the consequences of structural weaknesses in banking systems, may face a renewed reckoning. The eclipse's square to Pluto suggests that economic reforms will be unavoidable, with leadership transitions occurring as the public grows increasingly dissatisfied with the status quo. Economic reforms and leadership transitions in the European Union. Europe's history is rich with economic and political shifts, and now, under the influence of Pluto's final stretch through Capricorn, another chapter begins. Countries like Greece, Italy, and France may see renewed calls for reforms as financial pressures force governments to confront inefficiencies within their banking systems and corporate governance structures. Pluto's energy pushes for a transformation that will likely manifest through leadership changes, as dissatisfied populations demand new faces and new policies to address their growing concerns. The echoes of Greece's debt crisis and Italy's struggles with political stability may once again reverberate through the continent, compelling the EU to reassess its economic strategy and political cohesion. Leadership crises, economic collapse, the global fallout of Pluto's square. As Pluto's square to the eclipse dominates global events, leadership crises and economic collapses seem almost inevitable. The tension between long-standing power structures and the forces of transformation will culminate in abrupt shifts, both within governments and the corporate world. The financial systems of several regions, particularly in North America and Europe, may face critical moments of collapse, triggering political instability that could reshape leadership on a global scale. Global financial markets in turmoil. Pluto's transformative force will be felt acutely in the global financial markets, where power imbalances and unsustainable structures come crashing down. Markets in North America, Europe, and beyond could experience shocks, forcing investors and governments alike to scramble for stability in an increasingly volatile environment. Just as the 2008 financial crisis reshaped the global economy, so too will this period mark a significant turning point in how nations manage and govern their economic systems. The potential for leadership transitions is high, as governments grapple with the demands of a world reeling from economic instability. From corporate boardrooms to political capitals, Pluto's influence will push for a recalibration of power and economic governance. A nation on the brink, the impact of the partial lunar eclipse in Aries on global leadership and military power. The approaching partial lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024, at 24 degrees Aries, casts a powerful and ominous shadow across the global stage. This eclipse, deeply embedded within the fiery energy of Aries, signals a time of intense assertiveness, power struggles, and heightened national identity. As this celestial event collides with Pluto's transformative influence in Capricorn, we are poised to witness pivotal shifts in leadership, military actions, and national pride. Aries, the warrior of the zodiac, brings themes of self-assertion and conflict into sharp focus, and when coupled with the force of Pluto, it becomes a cosmic call to action. With the eclipse's effects reverberating through different astrological houses, each country and region will face its own unique transformation. From leadership challenges to military engagements, the house placements of this eclipse will dictate the fate of nations as they navigate a time of profound upheaval.
First house, the battle for national identity, leadership, and self-assertion. When the Aries lunar eclipse ignites the first house of a nation's chart, the themes of identity, leadership, and public image become central. Aries, with its aggressive and combative energy, amplifies the urgency for countries to assert themselves on the global stage. The first house, representing a nation's persona and how it projects power, now demands attention. This eclipse signifies a turning point for countries caught between projecting strength and navigating the delicate balance of diplomacy. For some, it will mean a more militaristic approach. For others, it could result in the rise of bold new leadership. United States, reasserting military power and global dominance. In the United States, the first house activation by this eclipse could spark a critical moment in national identity and military strategy. The U.S., with its long history as a global military superpower, may face a time of heightened assertiveness. International conflicts could become arenas where the country seeks to re-establish its dominance. The eclipse, aligned with Aries' warrior spirit, might push the United States toward bold defense initiatives or military actions that project national strength. Yet, these movements could come at a cost, as leadership crises or challenges to presidential authority arise. The eclipse may force the country to redefine its role in the world, with significant implications for its military and diplomatic future. Throughout history, such moments of military assertion have shaped the U.S. global standing, from the decisive actions during World War II to the complex conflicts of the Middle East. This eclipse may signal the next chapter in America's ongoing struggle to balance military might with diplomatic finesse. North Korea, leadership on display, assertive actions, and nuclear tensions. For North Korea, where the first house rules leadership and self-assertion, this eclipse could escalate tensions in ways that shake the global community. Under the guidance of Aries' assertive energy, North Korea may choose to intensify its military posturing or even initiate nuclear tests, presenting a bold statement to the world. Kim Jong-un, whose leadership is often defined by such displays of power, could face public scrutiny or internal challenges, forcing him to take decisive actions that reinforce his authority. This eclipse may push North Korea into a state of aggressive self-assertion, seeking to project a sense of invulnerability and defiance to international pressures. The spectacle of military displays, whether through missile launches or nuclear rhetoric, will be emblematic of a nation striving to solidify its place on the world stage. Just as in the past, North Korea's willingness to engage in brinkmanship could set the stage for heightened diplomatic tensions, drawing the eyes of the global community. A nation's heart under siege, the partial lunar eclipse in Aries and its impact on national security and territorial power. As the partial lunar eclipse on October 17, 2024, looms closer, its cosmic shadow falls across the fourth house, a house that governs the core of a nation's security, domestic affairs, and territorial integrity. In the fiery sign of Aries, this eclipse ignites a battle for control, not only externally, but within the heart of a nation's borders. The fourth house's association with the homeland takes on a new and urgent meaning, signaling internal crises, territorial disputes, and fierce struggles for national sovereignty. Aries' combative energy charges these conflicts with a sense of immediacy and confrontation, ensuring that global powers will be forced to confront escalating security threats, political instability, and territorial ambitions.
Middle East, heightened border tensions and security crises loom. The Middle East, a region long marked by geopolitical tension, will find itself at the center of escalating territorial conflicts during this eclipse. Israel, Iran, and Syria, nations steeped in history and shaped by centuries of conflict are likely to face crises related to border control and national security. This eclipse in the fourth house amplifies the intensity of these disputes, pulling long-standing issues of sovereignty and territorial claims into sharp focus. In Israel, security concerns may reach a tipping point. Threats along its borders, particularly in regions like Gaza or the Golan Heights, could intensify, forcing Israel to take bold, assertive military actions to safeguard its territorial integrity. The echoes of past conflicts, the wars of 1948, 1967, and beyond, resonate here as history once again threatens to repeat itself. Iran, too, may find itself grappling with internal unrest linked to issues of territorial control and sovereignty. With political factions vying for influence and a government seeking to maintain its grip on power, the nation could experience a surge in domestic unrest. Protests and internal revolts, remnants of the simmering tensions from previous years, could flare into full-blown uprisings, challenging the very fabric of the nation. Syria, still scarred by the ravages of civil war, may also face renewed threats to its stability. Internal power struggles and territorial disputes could reignite conflicts in a nation already struggling to rebuild. The eclipse, with its focus on national security, could see Syria drawn back into the fray of military engagements and internal strife. Russia, territorial ambitions and internal security take center stage. In Russia, the eclipse's focus on the fourth house brings internal crises to the forefront. With a history of territorial disputes stretching back centuries, from the conquests of Catherine the Great to the Soviet Union's expansion, Russia's identity has long been intertwined with its borders. This eclipse threatens to reignite tensions over territorial control, particularly in regions like Ukraine and Chechnya. As internal power struggles bubble beneath the surface, Russia may find itself embroiled in conflicts over resources, sovereignty, and national security. The fourth house emphasizes the homeland, and with Aries fueling the eclipse, assertive actions may be taken to secure these borders, even at the risk of international condemnation. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine could escalate as Russia seeks to reinforce its territorial claims, evoking memories of past clashes and the complex geopolitics of Eastern Europe. The assertive energy of Aries may also manifest in Russia's internal governance, with potential power struggles within the Kremlin itself. Leadership figures may face challenges to their authority, as internal factions vie for control. The specter of political unrest, evoking images of past revolutions and uprisings, could once again cast a long shadow over Russia's stability.
The tides of diplomacy and war, the seventh house eclipse and its global ramifications. As the Aries lunar eclipse casts its shadow across the seventh house on October 17, 2024, a cosmic tension rises. This celestial event draws its energy from the house of international relations, diplomacy, alliances, and open conflict. Nations across the globe brace for the inevitable shifts, as this eclipse brings matters of war and peace into sharp focus. It is here, in the realm of treaties and diplomatic negotiations, that the battle lines between cooperation and confrontation will be redrawn. With Pluto's square from Capricorn intensifying these dynamics, power struggles within global alliances are set to explode into the forefront, potentially shattering fragile peace or igniting new conflicts. European Union, military tensions and leadership conflicts erupt. The European Union, an alliance founded on the principles of unity and collective security, now stands on the precipice of division. As the lunar eclipse activates the seventh house, cracks begin to form in the once solid diplomatic alliances. The tension is palpable. Nations like Germany, France, and Italy, long key pillars of the EU, find themselves at odds over military engagement, strategic interests, and the future direction of the Union. This eclipse's focus on diplomacy and conflict highlights the very real threat of disunity, where internal disputes could overshadow global cooperation. The pressure to maintain NATO's stability will intensify as military tensions rise across Europe. The shadow of past conflicts looms large, echoes of the Cold War and the crises in the Balkans. And now, the EU may find itself once again facing hard choices about military involvement, defense policies, and the preservation of peace. Will the leadership within the EU rise to meet these challenges, or will internal conflicts fracture its foundations, leaving the continent vulnerable? India and China, tensions boil over in territorial disputes. In Asia, two giants face off, India and China. The Aries lunar eclipse's activation of the 7th house heightens long-simmering diplomatic and territorial tensions between these powerful nations. The clash over disputed territories, whether in the Himalayas along the India-China border or the South China Sea, reaches a boiling point. Diplomatic negotiations, fragile at the best of times, may disintegrate completely under the combative energy of Aries, leading to an escalation in military posturing. History has not forgotten the wars fought between these nations over territory and sovereignty, and the echoes of past conflicts fuel current confrontations. This eclipse magnifies these tensions, threatening to transform diplomatic deadlock into full-scale military engagement. The question that now hangs in the air: can the world's leading powers intervene in time, or will the embers of conflict erupt into uncontrollable flames? The eclipse of power, government crises, and leadership struggles in the 10th house. As the Aries lunar eclipse looms over the 10th house, the realm of government, leadership, and public authority, the world braces for seismic shifts in the political landscape. This is where the pillars of power either stand firm or crumble under the weight of their own conflicts. Combined with a fierce square to Pluto in Capricorn, this cosmic event signals a time of reckoning for leaders and governments across the globe. The echoes of history resonate louder than ever, hinting at crises, reforms, and the downfall of those who hold the reins of power. The stage is set for public controversy, leadership transitions, and the unveiling of hidden political struggles. The question remains: who will rise and who will fall? United States, a nation at the brink of political turmoil. In the heart of the United States, where political power has long been a global focal point, the Aries lunar eclipse in the 10th house brings an undeniable sense of urgency. The government, already a complex battleground of ideologies and ambitions, finds itself under immense pressure as the eclipse threatens to expose deep-seated power struggles. Pluto's square intensifies this atmosphere, creating a perfect storm of leadership challenges and potential government reforms. The shadow of the eclipse stretches over the nation's capital, where whispers of scandal and internal dissent grow louder. Historical parallels to past political crises, Watergate, the Clinton impeachment, linger in the air, reminding the public that the halls of power are not immune to upheaval. Leadership transitions may occur in the wake of a public scandal, a shocking revelation that forces the country to reevaluate its core governance structures. The weight of history looms as new figures rise to fill the void, redefining the American political landscape.
United Kingdom, a government on shaky ground. Across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom stands at the precipice of its own leadership dilemma. The Aries lunar eclipse, now activating the 10th house of British governance, casts a long shadow over Westminster. The echoes of Brexit and other political upheavals still ripple through the corridors of power, but this eclipse promises to magnify those tensions tenfold. As Pluto's transformative energy takes hold, the potential for hidden power struggles and political scandals to surface grows stronger. The United Kingdom, with its rich political history, from the resignation of Margaret Thatcher to the bitter battles over leadership in recent years, faces yet another moment of truth. Political shakeups may come as revelations emerge from the shadows, forcing governmental figures to confront the truth behind their power. Will the monarchy remain untouched by the turbulence, or will this be a time when both elected and hereditary leaders face intense scrutiny? The answers may lie in the public's reaction, as faith in authority wavers and calls for political reform grow louder. Eclipse of power. Global conflicts, leadership crises, and economic upheavals loom. In the shadow of the Aries lunar eclipse, a potent cosmic event merges with Pluto's transformative energy to cast a haunting spell across the globe. The tension is palpable, an electric undercurrent that seeps into the very fabric of political, military, and economic systems worldwide. Nations teeter on the edge of conflict, leaders face their reckoning, and economies brace for disruption. This eclipse is not just a celestial phenomenon, it is a harbinger of deep, irrevocable change. Military tensions escalate, the gathering storm over global territories. As the Aries lunar eclipse ignites a fiery spark in the heavens, its influence spreads like wildfire across regions already marked by volatility. Aries, the warrior sign, governs aggression, and when Pluto squares this lunar event, it magnifies the probability of military action, plunging global powers into dangerous territory. In the Middle East, where tension is a permanent fixture of life, the eclipse could be the match that lights a series of confrontations. Iran, ever a central figure in regional power struggles, may see its borders threatened or its leadership assert more aggressive control over disputed areas. Israel, already on high alert, may be forced into defensive postures as surrounding nations adopt more assertive military stances. Meanwhile, in Asia, the specter of conflict hovers over China and India, two giants whose territorial disputes have flared in recent years. The shadows of the Himalayas are long, and under the Aries moon, these nations may clash again, with military posturing escalating to direct confrontations. China's territorial claims, particularly in the South China Sea, may provoke further international disputes, pulling other global players into the fray.
Leadership crisis, a reckoning for power on the world stage. The square between Pluto and the Aries lunar eclipse doesn't just unleash aggression, it shakes the very foundations of leadership, casting long, ominous shadows over the world's most powerful figures. Pluto, known as the planet of transformation and destruction, demands that those in power face the consequences of their actions, forcing dramatic reckonings in governance and authority. In the United States, where political stability has already been tested in recent years, this eclipse could signal the downfall of prominent leaders. Scandals may erupt, casting those in power into the harsh light of public scrutiny. Expect leadership struggles within the U.S. government, with power dynamics shifting dramatically as the nation grapples with internal conflict and the need for transformational change. Europe is not immune to the eclipse's powerful pull. In France and Germany, leadership crises may reach a boiling point as internal political conflicts surface. Pluto's relentless energy will push for deep reform, exposing weaknesses in governmental structures. In both nations, the balance of power may tilt, with leadership transitions or political restructurings poised to redefine the future of European governance. Economic upheavals, the cost of conflict and leadership instability. As military tensions mount and leadership crises deepen, the global economy is not spared from the eclipse's reach. Aries, a sign known for its assertiveness, combined with Pluto's transformative influence, could trigger significant economic upheavals, particularly in sectors tied to military spending and defense. Markets may falter under the weight of these global shifts, and the cost of conflict will be paid in currency as well as blood. In the United States, where defense contracts dominate much of the economic landscape, the potential for military engagement and leadership instability may send shockwaves through financial markets. The ripple effect of this eclipse could be felt across sectors reliant on governmental stability, especially as the nation grapples with the possibility of restructuring its economic priorities in light of the eclipse's call for transformation. On a broader scale, global markets may find themselves vulnerable as the cost of military engagement rises and nations invest heavily in their defense sectors. Economic reforms may be inevitable.
The hidden surge. unveiling the global impact of the new moon in Scorpio on October 31, 2024. As the new moon rises at 8 degrees Scorpio on October 31, 2024, an undercurrent of transformation and intensity sweeps across the globe. Scorpio, a sign synonymous with secrecy, regeneration, and control, casts its shadow over the world, sparking new beginnings in finance, political power structures, and security measures. This is not a gentle shift but a profound, intense awakening. With potent aspects to Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus, the new moon unlocks a surge of change that will ripple through economic systems and technological sectors worldwide. Pluto's power play, financial and political regeneration. At the heart of this celestial alignment, the new moon forms a tense aspect with Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto's final stand at 29 degrees, a cosmic moment that marks the end of its transformative journey through Capricorn. Known for upending old systems of power, Pluto's influence over this new moon heralds the culmination of long-brewing crises in governance, financial control, and corporate power. The world on edge, financial systems and political power struggles. The world is no stranger to financial uncertainty, but under this Scorpio new moon, economic tensions will reach a fever pitch. Expect power struggles between corporations and governments to dominate headlines, with hidden agendas and long-kept secrets finally brought into the light. Political leaders will be thrust into situations where reform is no longer optional, intense restructuring is required. The drive for control, secrecy, and absolute power will trigger upheavals in financial policies, forcing governments to confront corruption, inefficiencies, and imbalance. Global impact of Pluto's influence. North America, a test of governmental fortitude. In the United States and Canada, financial reforms will take center stage, challenging governments to address growing discontent over corporate control and economic policies. Expect political leaders to face leadership crises as public dissatisfaction rises, demanding immediate and transparent action on tax reforms and spending. In these nations, the time for reform is now, and the cost of inaction may be political downfall. European Union, the call for economic restructuring. In Europe, where countries like Germany, France, and Italy have long danced with economic volatility, this new moon will force urgent reforms. Pluto's pressure on governance will demand restructuring of financial regulations. Leadership struggles in these nations, exacerbated by growing public unrest, will likely lead to reshaping of the political landscape, with some leaders rising to the challenge, while others are swept away by the tide of transformation. Uranus sparks innovation, the technological revolution unfolds. While Pluto sets the stage for transformation through crisis, Uranus in Taurus ignites innovation. Known for its unpredictable and revolutionary energy, Uranus's alignment with the new moon in Scorpio promises sudden technological advancements that will forever alter the economic landscape. This is not gradual change, it is disruption. Global disruption, the era of technological breakthroughs. Across the globe, industries tied to resource management, energy, and finance will be shaken to their core. The unexpected, the revolutionary, and the bold will define this period as Uranus drives nations to adapt swiftly or be left behind. From advancements in AI to quantum computing, these technological leaps will challenge the foundations of global economies. Countries that can harness this innovative energy will thrive. Those that resist will crumble under the weight of stagnation. Global impact of Uranus's influence. Asia. A leap into the future. In Asia, countries like China and Japan will lead the charge in technological advancements, using this new moon to push their economies into uncharted territories. Expect significant developments in green energy, artificial intelligence, and financial technologies, all of which will reshape the global market. The pressure to innovate quickly will see some nations surge forward while others lag behind in the race toward technological dominance. Middle East. Navigating new tech in a resource-rich region. The oil-rich nations of the Middle East will face a pivotal moment. As Uranus drives innovation in energy alternatives, countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE must rapidly diversify their economies or risk being sidelined by the technological shift. The tension between old-world resource control and the new frontier of renewable energy will dominate this region's political landscape as the new moon shines a light on the need for urgent transformation.
Scorpio's secret power, crisis management and control. The essence of Scorpio is mastery over crisis, and this new moon offers no exceptions. The global stage will be set for crises to emerge, some anticipated, others shockingly abrupt, but all will demand regeneration and reform. Scorpio's influence will heighten secrecy, with political and corporate leaders working behind closed doors to manage these crises while maintaining their grip on power. The global web of control, managing the crisis. As financial systems buckle and political leaders are thrust into the spotlight, expect the rise of crisis management on an unprecedented scale. Some nations will use Scorpio's energy to tightly control information and manage public perception, while others will face exposure, where hidden corruption or inefficiencies rise to the surface, forcing transparency. The new moon's influence will intensify efforts to maintain control, but the secrets hidden under Scorpio's shadow may not stay buried for long. The underlying global influence. South America, hidden agendas and political reform. In countries like Brazil and Argentina, the political and economic turmoil, already bubbling under the surface, will explode into the public arena. Governments may attempt to suppress these crises, working in secrecy to navigate power struggles and avoid total collapse. But with the intensity of Scorpio, these efforts may only buy time, forcing reforms once hidden truths are revealed. A new moon unleashes tension. Power struggles and transformations loom as Pluto squares Scorpio. The night sky on October 31st, 2024 will be charged with intensity as the new moon in Scorpio squares with Pluto in Capricorn at a critical 29 degrees. This fateful square brings forth a cosmic showdown, one that signals the culmination of long-hidden power dynamics, control struggles, and transformative forces that have simmered beneath the surface for years. As the new moon casts its shadow, it exposes cracks in global systems of finance and governance, creating a profound moment where nations will be forced to reckon with their past decisions and their future fates. The Last Stand, Pluto's power struggle at 29 degrees Capricorn. As Pluto clings to the final degree of Capricorn, it exerts one final overwhelming influence. Known as the planet of death and rebirth, Pluto's presence at this critical juncture signals the end of an era, one in which corporate power and governmental authority have dominated unchecked. But Scorpio's new moon is not a passive observer. It challenges Pluto's grip, creating a square that disrupts the status quo with undeniable force. A reckoning in finance and governance, the fall of giants. For years, financial systems and governmental institutions have grown under Pluto's watchful eye. But now, the cracks are showing. This square to the new moon unleashes long-buried tensions, thrusting hidden corruption, inefficiencies, and deep imbalances into the spotlight. The pressure builds. Nations face crises of control. Economic instability rises, leaders find themselves on the brink of collapse, and power struggles emerge from the shadows, demanding urgent reform. The global impact of Pluto's square. North America, financial reformation or ruin. In the United States and Canada, this tense aspect will reverberate through the halls of power. Pluto demands transformation in how governments handle public finances, corporate governance, and leadership accountability. Expect a push for drastic reforms in taxation, corporate transparency, and economic policies. But these changes will not come easily. Internal power struggles and public dissatisfaction will fuel a battle for control that could reshape both nations' futures. European Union, a test of leadership amid economic instability. For Europe, especially in financial giants like Germany, France, and Italy, Pluto's square will ignite a crisis in governance. Economic instability and public outrage will force governments to confront long-ignored problems. Leaders will be tested as public trust falters, financial reforms will be demanded, and institutions will undergo profound restructuring. The transformation won't be smooth. Expect leadership challenges and political shakeups as the continent grapples with its future.
Scorpio's shadow, the crisis of control, and the quest for renewal. As Scorpio governs the themes of regeneration, secrecy, and intensity, this new moon taps into the darker undercurrents of power. With Pluto's square amplifying these energies, nations and corporations alike will be drawn into crisis management, forced to face the reality of their unsustainable practices. The call for renewal will be loud, but the path forward will be fraught with challenges. Behind closed doors, the battle for power. Expect political and corporate leaders to scramble for control as public and economic pressures mount. What has been hidden beneath layers of bureaucracy and secrecy will now rise to the surface, demanding attention. Leaders will attempt to maintain a grip on their power, but Scorpio's influence is relentless, forcing a reckoning with corruption and imbalance that can no longer be ignored. Scorpio's dark moon unveils global power struggles, a moment of crisis and transformation. As the mysterious new moon in Scorpio squares Pluto's final degree in Capricorn on October 31st, 2024, the world teeters on the edge of profound change. This tense aspect between the planet of hidden power and the sign of transformation unleashes a torrent of upheaval, exposing cracks in financial systems, corporate governance, and political authority. Scorpio's depth and Pluto's intensity combine to magnify struggles for control, demanding radical reforms across nations. This celestial event is no ordinary new moon. It's a cosmic trigger for the breakdown of long-standing structures and the rise of a new era. North America, financial reform and political reckoning. The US grapples with economic turmoil and leadership challenges. In the United States, the Scorpio new moon's square to Pluto strikes at the heart of the nation's power structures, illuminating deep financial instability and governance issues. The relentless energy of Pluto reveals vulnerabilities in public finance, forcing leadership to confront their economic failings head-on. Reforms in taxation and spending policies loom large on the horizon, with corporate governance taking center stage as power struggles erupt within the government. The new moon whispers of behind-the-scenes battles in Washington's corridors of power. Corporate control is challenged as public dissatisfaction grows. Pluto's influence may lead to the exposure of corruption or inefficiencies, pushing America into a period of financial upheaval and political recalibration. Canada faces pressure to restructure its economic systems. In Canada, the pressure mounts as the country is drawn into Scorpio's transformational energy. Political figures may find themselves trapped in a tightening web of economic challenges, particularly within sectors tied to natural resources. The nation's leadership could face calls for sweeping reforms to public spending and economic policy. The new moon shines a stark light on the cracks in the system, urging Canada to confront its financial struggles before they spiral into crisis. European Union, governmental overhaul amid economic crisis. Germany, France, and Italy feel the scorpion's sting. In the heart of Europe, the Scorpio new moon square Pluto delivers a seismic shock to key nations like Germany, France, and Italy. The leadership in these countries faces mounting public pressure as economic instability swells. Discontent with the status quo fuels demands for government reforms, particularly in financial regulation and public policy. The tension between Scorpio's intense desire for transformation and Pluto's drive for power reveals a European Union standing at a crossroads. Will these nations embrace the necessary changes, or be dragged into deeper political and financial chaos? Leadership crises threaten to disrupt the delicate balance of power in Europe. France may see its government challenged by public outrage, Germany could face a reckoning over its financial policies, and Italy's ongoing struggles with economic instability could come to a head. The time for superficial fixes has passed. Now, deep restructuring is the only way forward.
Unleashing chaos, the Scorpio New Moon's collision with Uranus, a revolution in finance and technology. As the Scorpio New Moon aligns in a tense opposition to Uranus in Taurus, the stage is set for an electrifying moment of disruption and upheaval. On October 31st, 2024, this cosmic clash promises to ignite sudden shifts in financial markets, technological landscapes, and the foundations of material wealth. The battle between Scorpio's desire for control and Uranus's wild, unpredictable energy threatens to shake the very pillars of global stability. Financial volatility and unseen shocks in global markets. Taurus, the sign of stability and material wealth, is under siege, and no financial empire is immune. The opposition between the transformative power of Scorpio and the rebellious force of Uranus casts a shadow of uncertainty over global financial systems. Picture the stock exchanges of New York, London, and Tokyo, once steadfast, now trembling under the pressure of unforeseen developments. Market stability, which seemed unshakable, suddenly teeters on the brink as this celestial dance pushes investors into uncharted territory. With Uranus in Taurus stirring the pot, expect massive fluctuations in digital currencies, cryptocurrency, and blockchain technology. The foundation of material wealth is no longer as secure as it once appeared. Nations heavily dependent on agriculture or natural resources will find themselves vulnerable as technology disrupts the very ground they stand on. Technology's unrelenting march, the rise of innovation or chaos. Uranus in Taurus doesn't ask for permission, it demands transformation. From Silicon Valley to the tech hubs of China, the opposition between the new moon and Uranus signals the dawn of technological revolutions, or perhaps chaos. Tech giants who once ruled with ease may now find themselves at the mercy of innovation they failed to predict. Blockchain systems, artificial intelligence, and digital finance will advance at breakneck speed, disrupting entire industries. But innovation, in the hands of Uranus, is never gentle. Governments and corporations will be forced to either evolve or crumble under the weight of their own resistance to change. Picture government institutions scrambling to adapt as previously hidden vulnerabilities in technology surface in shocking waves, leaving no time for hesitation. The tension between stability and transformation. The old ways of controlling wealth and power are no longer sustainable. New solutions must emerge. The Taurus-Scorpio axis brings an explosive dynamic. Scorpio seeks to dominate and control, while Taurus represents the comfort of stability. The collision between these two energies forces nations to grapple with how they manage their material resources. Agriculture, food production, and natural resources are no longer reliable, stable assets. From the fertile lands of South America to the oil-rich Middle East, entire industries could be turned upside down as this opposition forces a reckoning. Scorpio's intense energy pushes for transformation, leaving no room for complacency, while Uranus demands the reimagining of how wealth and resources are distributed. Global impact, the world's superpowers scramble to adapt. In the halls of power, from Washington, D.C. to Beijing, leaders will confront the harsh reality that no nation is insulated from these sudden shifts. Economic advisors and tech moguls alike will rush to manage the fallout from these unpredictable cosmic forces. Nations may scramble to regulate emerging technologies or strengthen their digital infrastructure in the face of growing instability. Countries once reliant on traditional material resources, like oil and agriculture, will be thrust into an age of technological upheaval that challenges their very existence. There's no turning back as the world adapts to the rapid evolution of digital finance, AI innovations, and technological systems that rewrite the rules of global economics.
Scorpio's new moon collision with Uranus. Asia's technological revolution and Latin America's resource crisis. The new moon in Scorpio on October 31, 2024, forms a powerful opposition to Uranus in Taurus, promising sudden disruptions and transformative events across the globe. With its focus on financial systems and technological innovation, this cosmic moment thrusts entire nations into a whirlwind of change, forcing rapid adaptation. The stage is set for breakthroughs and crises that will forever alter the landscape of Asia and Latin America, where industries will rise and fall in the blink of an eye. Asia's rapid tech leap, the birth of a new economic powerhouse. An unprecedented surge in technological advancements. In the heart of Asia, where innovation thrives in bustling cities like Tokyo, Seoul, and Shanghai, the opposition between the Scorpio New Moon and Uranus brings a surge of technological breakthroughs. Picture gleaming skyscrapers, where brilliant minds push the boundaries of artificial intelligence and digital finance. In this electric atmosphere, nothing remains stable as the traditional economic structures of China, Japan, and South Korea are shaken to their core. China, once firmly rooted in its established power, now faces an unpredictable shift in its digital currency initiative. Financial markets across Asia quiver under the pressure of unprecedented technological advancements, as cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology break through the last bastions of the old financial order. Japan and South Korea, driven by the relentless pace of innovation, are poised to reshape their influence on the world stage, introducing cutting-edge technologies that could revolutionize entire industries. The clash between Uranus in Taurus and Scorpio's transformative pull will propel Asia into a new era of technological dominance. Latin America's reckoning, disruption in agriculture and resource management. An unforgiving storm over natural resources. In the fertile lands of Latin America, where agriculture has long reigned as the lifeblood of economies, the opposition between the new moon in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus signals an unexpected reckoning. The rolling fields of Brazil and Argentina, once peaceful, now tremble under the weight of disruptive forces. The control over precious resources, land, water, minerals, suddenly becomes fragile as technological advancements clash with nature's bounty. Brazil, a global agricultural powerhouse, faces a sudden and dramatic shift. A nation built on its vast farmlands and abundant natural resources now grapples with technological innovations that may either save or destabilize its agricultural systems. The traditional way of managing resources is no longer sufficient as rapid advancements in resource management force countries like Argentina and Mexico to adapt quickly or face economic turmoil. The tension between Taurus's need for stability and Scorpio's hunger for transformation plays out dramatically in Latin America. The survival of industries depends on how swiftly nations can evolve their management of natural resources and embrace innovative solutions. Economic futures hang in the balance, adapting to the chaos. A global tipping point for financial and technological structures. As the opposition between the Scorpio New Moon and Uranus shakes the pillars of the world, both Asia and Latin America stand at a critical juncture. In one region, the technological advancements are soaring beyond imagination, while in another, the future of agricultural sustainability and resource management is thrown into turmoil. The question remains, how will nations respond to the intense pressure? In Asia, the path forward may be one of adaptation and global leadership as these nations ride the wave of digital currency and AI innovations. Meanwhile, Latin America must confront the reality of a rapidly changing world, where traditional industries can no longer survive without radical transformation. The tension between stability and innovation will define the outcome, and only those nations ready to embrace change will thrive.
Scorpio's shadowy rebirth, a new era for global power, finance, and leadership. Beneath the enigmatic glow of the Scorpio New Moon on October 31, 2024, the world braces for a seismic shift. This lunar event, bathed in the intensity of Scorpio's transformative energy, heralds profound changes in finance, power structures, and global leadership. With Pluto and Uranus, the cosmic harbingers of disruption, pulling the strings, nations and institutions are poised for radical reform, whether they are ready or not. What lies ahead is not just evolution, but a deep, tectonic shift that will shake the very foundations of economies and governance. Financial systems on the brink, the rebirth of global markets. New policies emerge as Scorpio's influence strikes the heart of financial systems. Picture the financial capitals of the world: New York, London, Shanghai, where skyscrapers glisten with wealth and influence. Yet beneath the polished exterior, tension builds. The Scorpio New Moon is casting its shadow over these power centers, signaling a rebirth that will reshape the global financial landscape. Policies crafted behind closed doors will emerge, pushing the world into a new economic paradigm. Scorpio's deep connection to secrecy and control whispers of unseen forces, powerful players poised to rewrite the rules of finance. With Pluto's presence magnifying the scope of transformation, global markets are not merely shifting, they're undergoing a profound metamorphosis. Expect radical new regulations, innovations in financial technology, and a reimagining of economic governance in the wake of this cosmic upheaval. Power structures crumble and rebuild, the dawn of leadership transformation. Pluto's grip on global leadership sparks intense shifts in authority. Across nations, from Washington to Beijing, the winds of change grow fiercer. Leadership, once solid and untouchable, begins to tremble under the weight of Pluto's relentless influence. The Scorpio New Moon signals the arrival of a new era in leadership, where old power structures are torn down and new figures rise from the ashes. In capitals around the world, whispers of political reform turn into roars. Governments, organizations, and powerful elites scramble to confront the cracks in their foundations. Leaders face public scrutiny, scandal, and challenges to their authority, forcing nations to reevaluate who holds the reins of power. Under Scorpio's intensity, these shifts will not be polite or subtle, they will be radical, perhaps even destructive, paving the way for bold, uncompromising new leadership to emerge. Technological disruption, the Uranian force redefining global innovation. Uranus sparks radical shifts in technology and security amid global instability. While Scorpio steers the emotional and psychological transformation, Uranus, the planet of rebellion and innovation, electrifies the material world. The opposition between Uranus in Taurus and the Scorpio New Moon is a celestial call to arms, particularly in sectors tied to technology and security. In Silicon Valley, Seoul, and Berlin, breakthroughs in digital finance, AI, and cybersecurity are set to explode onto the global stage, with countries scrambling to adapt to the pace of change. Innovation arrives not as a gradual evolution, but as a seismic shock. From cryptocurrency regulations to agricultural technology, the impact is swift and irreversible. Nations face the difficult task of balancing rapid advancements with the need for stability, a tension mirrored in the eternal dance between Taurus and Scorpio. New security measures, driven by necessity, will become paramount as governments and corporations grapple with the fallout of technological disruption. The global stage is set, economic instability and political reckoning. Nations confront volatility as the Scorpio New Moon forces their hand. As the world moves deeper into this transformative period, nations already grappling with economic or political instability are thrust into the spotlight. For countries like Argentina, Italy, or Brazil, where the fabric of governance and financial systems is already fragile, the Scorpio New Moon brings both a crisis and an opportunity. Will they rise to meet the challenge, or crumble under the weight of change? The intense cosmic alignment between Scorpio, Pluto, and Uranus ensures that no nation will escape unscathed. Reforms will be made under pressure, perhaps even duress, as governments scramble to contain economic volatility and implement technological innovations. Whether through new financial systems or dramatic leadership changes, this is a period where nations are reborn, or consumed by their own resistance to change.
the Scorpio New Moon's global rebirth, power shifts, financial reforms, and leadership decisions. As the shadowy influence of the Scorpio New Moon descends on October 31st, 2024, the world stands on the precipice of transformation. This celestial event, with its profound ties to control, regeneration, and secret power struggles, signals a time when nations are forced to confront the depths of their economic and political crises. The ripples of this new moon will be felt across continents, reshaping financial systems and reconfiguring global leadership in ways both dramatic and unexpected. United States, financial reforms in the eye of the storm. America's leadership faces critical decisions amidst economic instability. In Washington, D.C., the halls of power tremble as the Scorpio New Moon ignites urgent conversations behind closed doors. The U.S. government, already wrestling with economic volatility, faces a crossroads. The transformative power of Scorpio is demanding deep financial reforms, pushing leaders to confront issues they've long avoided: taxation, corporate governance, public spending. Decisions made now will echo through time, altering the trajectory of the American economy and shaping its influence on the global stage. Scorpio's energy thrives in the shadows, forcing leaders to grapple with the undercurrents of control and power. It is a moment where bold financial reforms may emerge, not with fanfare, but with quiet intensity. These decisions will either secure America's economic future or deepen its struggles. The stakes could not be higher, as the nation's leadership walks the delicate line between crisis and regeneration. Latin America, economic revolutions and leadership shifts. Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina confront financial crises with bold new policies. Across Latin America, from the bustling streets of São Paulo to the vibrant markets of Mexico City, the energy of the Scorpio New Moon ripples through the air, calling for transformation. Economies in Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina, long tested by financial instability, are poised for dramatic shifts. The Scorpio influence pushes these nations toward economic rebirth, compelling their leaders to enact sweeping reforms aimed at stabilizing volatile markets and addressing resource management challenges. The leadership in these nations will find themselves at a critical juncture, facing decisions that could redefine their economic futures. Power struggles intensify behind the scenes as leaders work to reshape the financial landscape and adapt to the global pressures weighing on their economies. The actions taken under the veil of Scorpio's influence may bring stability, or they could deepen the economic uncertainty already gripping the region. The Scorpio New Moon of October 2024, a global rebirth of power, identity, and transformation. As the dark and magnetic energy of the Scorpio New Moon descends on October 31st, 2024, the world braces for an intense period of transformation. This celestial event signals the arrival of a time where nations grapple with crises, regenerate their identity, and seize control over resources. With Scorpio's potent association with rebirth, control, and secrets, the house where this new moon lands reveals where the greatest global shifts will occur. Aspects to Pluto and Uranus amplify the drama, signaling sweeping changes in finance, leadership, and the delicate dance of international relations.
First house, national identity and self-transformation. A new era of self-assertion and power redefinition. When the Scorpio New Moon graces a nation's first house, the transformation is deeply personal. The first house governs self-identity, the face a country shows to the world, and Scorpio's penetrating energy intensifies the need for reinvention. The nation becomes consumed by a desire to control its image, consolidate power, and renew its standing on the global stage. This could be a time of rebirth, where countries shed their old skins and emerge stronger, more determined, and unrelenting in their pursuit of influence. United States, a bold reassertion of power and global identity. In the United States, this Scorpio New Moon could trigger a national transformation unlike any before. Imagine the halls of power in Washington, D.C., buzzing with whispered plans for a rebirth, a reassertion of the country's global dominance. As the world watches, the US could begin consolidating political and economic power, pushing through reforms designed to reignite its international influence. Leadership might project a more resolute national identity, wielding Scorpio's fearless intensity to reshape its image on the global stage. The transformation won't be surface level. It will be rooted in deep, powerful reforms, a regeneration of the country's very soul. From economic overhauls to bold foreign policies, the U.S. may seek to emerge from this period more commanding, more unified in its goals for the future. China, power consolidation and national reinvention. For China, the Scorpio New Moon falling in the first house signifies a dramatic phase of self-reinvention. In the corridors of Beijing, the undercurrent of this celestial shift will be felt intensely as the country seizes the opportunity to strengthen its grip on global influence. Under Scorpio's gaze, China may assert itself with greater force in areas like trade negotiations and technological innovation, as it works tirelessly to consolidate political and economic power. Picture the Chinese government weaving through complex international dynamics, strategically positioning itself for greater control in the Asia-Pacific region. The new moon's energy breathes new life into China's pursuit of dominance, emboldening its leaders to take bolder steps on the world stage. With economic reinvention and political recalibration, China could reshape its narrative, moving towards a more powerful and self-assured identity. Scorpio New Moon in the fourth house, a surge of internal crises and homeland transformations. As the intense energy of the Scorpio New Moon converges in the fourth house, a wave of deep internal change ripples through the very core of nations. The fourth house, symbolic of the homeland, national security, and domestic affairs, becomes a stage for transformation. Under Scorpio's influence, this is no gentle shift. This is regeneration born of crisis, a time when nations must confront internal unrest, territorial disputes, and their own foundations. Expect power struggles, heightened security measures, and efforts to fortify national integrity as countries across the globe grapple with change. Russia, a struggle for territorial integrity and national security. Heightened tensions over disputed territories. In Russia, the Scorpio New Moon in the fourth house shines a searing spotlight on issues of territorial control and national security. This celestial event could be the trigger that prompts Moscow to tighten its grip on disputed regions, particularly in areas like Ukraine or the Caucasus. Imagine the towering walls of the Kremlin, illuminated by the new moon's haunting glow, where decisions of military action and domestic policy unfold in secret. The tension surrounding territorial integrity, amplified by Scorpio's transformative power, may lead to decisive and assertive actions. Russia could move to implement robust security measures, intensifying efforts to secure its borders and silence unrest within its regions. This is a moment of reckoning, where past conflicts and territorial ambitions are brought to the forefront of the nation's strategy, leading to powerful, perhaps military-driven responses that will reverberate.
Middle East, domestic power struggles and the quest for stability. Restructuring from within as nations seek domestic reform. In the politically charged Middle East, the Scorpio New Moon's transit through the fourth house creates a vortex of internal power struggles and domestic reform. For nations like Iran and Syria, this is not just a time of change, it is a time for survival. As the moon's shadow sweeps over the region, deep-rooted conflicts and the aftermath of war surface, demanding regeneration. In Iran, this lunar event could spark internal reforms, with government leaders responding to crises by implementing new security measures or restructuring the nation's political framework to address growing unrest. The situation in Syria, still haunted by the echoes of conflict, may push the country toward rebuilding efforts and securing territorial control as factions vie for dominance. Expect internal power struggles to rise, fueled by the Scorpio New Moon's penetrating energy, as these nations seek to regain stability and authority over their homelands. Seventh house power struggles, diplomatic crossroads under the Scorpio New Moon. As the dark allure of the Scorpio New Moon enters the 7th house, the arena of international relations and diplomacy becomes electrified with tension. This celestial event promises to ignite power struggles between global alliances. In this transformative moment, nations must confront their partnerships. Some will crumble, others will emerge stronger, but none will be untouched by Scorpio's intense demand for deep negotiation and restructuring. Crisis breeds alliances, and in the shadow of Scorpio's influence, diplomacy becomes a battlefield where only the strongest connections survive. European Union, diplomatic power plays and reshaping alliances. A new era of tension and transformation for Europe. In the heart of the European Union, the Scorpio New Moon in the 7th house casts its long, dark shadow, signaling a time of profound diplomatic power struggles. Picture the ancient cities of Berlin, Paris, and Rome, their leaders locked in deep negotiations behind closed doors, each grappling with the future of the Union. The intensity of Scorpio's transformative energy pushes these nations to the brink, forcing them to redefine alliances and address pressures from rising external forces, such as Russia and China. The very fabric of the EU may be altered, as strategic partnerships are forged and others are left behind, with Scorpio's influence bringing disruptions that lead to new alliances. These changes will not come quietly. They will be born from the crucible of negotiation, as European leaders work to navigate a turbulent global landscape. Middle East, diplomatic tensions and the formation of strategic alliances. A battle for control and influence in a volatile region. In the volatile cauldron of the Middle East, the Scorpio New Moon illuminates a path through the fog of diplomatic tensions. Nations like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Israel stand at a crossroads where alliances shift and power consolidates. Under Scorpio's influence, this isn't a delicate dance. It's a battle for control, where every move is scrutinized and every decision carries the weight of regional dominance. As diplomatic tensions rise, new alliances may form, but they will be forged in the fires of necessity and survival. Scorpio's transformative energy hints that these partnerships will be more than mere treaties. They will be calculated moves to gain geopolitical power. Whether it's the growing influence over key resources or control of strategic regions, these alliances will be born from Scorpio's relentless demand for rebirth through crisis. The Scorpio New Moon and the eclipse of power, leadership in flux. As the Scorpio New Moon casts its shadow over the 10th house, the world braces for a profound shift in the landscape of government, leadership, and public authority. This cosmic event signals a time of seismic transformations where power structures will be tested and new leadership will rise from the ashes of conflict and crisis. Pluto's grip of control and Uranus's unpredictability merge to create a perfect storm, ensuring that these changes are anything but ordinary. What we're about to witness is the rebirth of political systems, as Scorpio's relentless energy demands nothing less than deep, lasting reform.
United States, crisis sparks leadership transitions and government overhaul, a nation at the crossroads of change. Under the foreboding skies of the Scorpio New Moon, the United States finds itself teetering on the edge of leadership transitions and government reforms. The 10th house, where this lunar event strikes, rules over the seat of public authority, meaning that no branch of government is safe from the transformative force now surging through the nation. History tells us that moments of great change in the U.S. are often accompanied by crisis, whether it be the Great Depression, the Watergate scandal, or the 2008 financial meltdown. Now, with Pluto and Uranus intertwined in the planetary dance, we are poised to see the birth of new leadership. Perhaps these figures will emerge in response to deep-rooted systemic issues, economic instability, or public outrage demanding reform. The executive branch may find itself under intense scrutiny, facing a political reckoning as the country grapples with how power is exercised in a time of uncertainty. Latin America, political restructuring and new leadership amidst economic instability. A continent in transformation. In the tumultuous political landscape of Latin America, the Scorpio New Moon in the 10th house signals political restructuring and leadership changes. From the heights of Brazil's capital, Brasilia, to the vibrant streets of Buenos Aires and the historic squares of Mexico City, this new moon heralds a time of deep upheaval. Latin America has often found itself at the crossroads of economic challenges and political reform. Historically, from the fall of dictatorships to the rise of democratic movements, the region has experienced waves of transformation. Now, under the relentless push of Scorpio, new leaders may rise to address public discontent and implement sweeping economic reforms. The economic instability that has gripped many nations may force governments to confront their failures head-on, reshaping their leadership to meet the demands of an ever-shifting global economy. Scorpio New Moon, the dawn of financial revolution. As the Scorpio New Moon rises, the world braces for a wave of economic transformation that promises to reshape global financial systems. Pluto's intense influence, combined with Scorpio's relentless focus on shared resources, signals a time of deep reform in how nations manage their wealth and control power. The urgency of the moment is palpable, as governments scramble to implement economic policies that not only address immediate instability, but also secure long-term control over key financial sectors. The stakes have never been higher, and the entire world waits in anticipation as economies teeter on the brink of transformation. United States and Europe, financial reforms on the horizon, a new chapter for economic stability. In the corridors of power from Washington, D.C. to Brussels, the Scorpio New Moon has ignited discussions of sweeping financial reforms. Both the United States and Europe, facing mounting economic challenges, are poised to take bold steps toward restructuring their financial systems. The influence of Scorpio urges leaders to confront the deep-rooted issues of economic inequality, corporate taxation, and public spending, issues that have been brewing beneath the surface for far too long. Historically, moments of economic upheaval have led to significant reforms. From the creation of the New Deal in the aftermath of the Great Depression to the European Union's fiscal integration after the global financial crisis, history has shown that out of crisis, great change can emerge. The Scorpio New Moon carries that same transformative energy, pushing for long-term solutions that will redefine the way these regions manage wealth and resources. The people's demand for transparency and accountability is growing louder, and under this cosmic influence, governments may be forced to take decisive.
Pluto's shadow, deep, lasting transformations, the force behind the financial evolution. With Pluto's transformative energy looming large over the global financial landscape, this is no ordinary period of reform. Pluto, often associated with the breakdown of old systems and the birth of the new, suggests that these financial shifts will be deep and long-lasting. This is not just about temporary fixes. It's about restructuring the very foundations of how governments manage their economies. In both the US and Europe, where public trust in financial institutions has been eroded by past crises, this is a critical moment. Scorpio's demand for regeneration means that leaders must do more than merely patch up the system. Corporate taxation, government control of resources, and public sector reforms will become central issues as nations grapple with how to balance power and wealth in an increasingly complex world. Sudden disruptions, the unforeseen shifts in global markets. The cosmos is stirring, and Uranus, the planet of unexpected upheavals, stands in opposition to the stabilizing forces of the Scorpio New Moon. As if cracking open a long, silent vault, this alignment promises to bring shocking developments in financial systems and technological landscapes worldwide. It's a moment charged with both danger and opportunity, as nations brace themselves for the volatility that Uranus so often delivers. Innovation, disruption, and the unpredictable rise of digital currencies and technological breakthroughs will leave their indelible mark on the global stage. The question is, who will be agile enough to survive these rapid shifts, and who will crumble under their weight? Asia and Latin America, technological breakthroughs shake economies. The eye of the technological storm. In Asia and Latin America, the ripple effects of Uranus disruption will be particularly profound. In regions known for their rich cultural histories and bustling modern economies, the tension between innovation and market stability will come to a head. China, ever the technological titan, may see a rapid surge in digital currencies, reshaping the way the world interacts with its vast economic empire. Its historical journey from ancient Silk Road power to a modern digital superpower now faces an unexpected detour as Uranus forces unforeseen twists in its path. Japan, with its long-standing cultural reverence for innovation, may face its own reckoning as breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies spark both excitement and economic volatility. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, Brazil, Latin America's largest economy, known for its vast natural resources and agricultural prowess, could be thrust into the eye of a storm. Financial volatility triggered by the sudden rise of digital currencies or innovations in agricultural technologies. The rich cultural fabric of these nations will be tested by these technological winds of change. In Latin America, where historical revolutions have reshaped entire countries, this new revolution will unfold in markets and economies. What once were fields of sugarcane and coffee may now turn into battlegrounds of blockchain technology and digital currencies, with governments scrambling to adapt policies to a swiftly transforming world. Unforeseen market volatility, the world on edge, a financial roller coaster no one saw coming. As Uranus injects its disruptive energy into global markets, financial systems across the globe will feel the shockwaves. Cryptocurrencies, once considered fringe innovations, may suddenly seize the spotlight, causing traditional banking systems to tremble in their foundations. Historical financial hubs, from Tokyo to São Paulo, could see rapid market volatility as digital currencies skyrocket one moment and plummet the next, leaving investors and governments scrambling for balance. These disruptions will challenge the very notion of stability in financial markets. Uranus, ever the celestial rebel, invites us to rethink economic structures that have been in place for decades. A new financial landscape is emerging, and those unprepared for the quick adaptation required may find themselves lost in a digital wilderness. Innovation amidst chaos, a new era of financial systems. Revolution in real time. The Uranian influence does not only promise chaos, it also brings innovation. In this era of rapid change, new technologies and financial tools will emerge from the very disruptions they cause. This period will likely mark the dawn of revolutionary financial systems, where nations that can adapt will not only survive, but thrive. It is a pivotal moment for Asia and Latin America, regions with both historical resilience and an appetite for innovation. As global leaders in technology and trade, these nations will need to navigate the turmoil with a delicate balance of agility and foresight. How they respond to the volatile mix of digital currencies, market fluctuations, and technological breakthroughs will set the stage for their futures on the global economic stage. Leadership transitions, a storm of power shifts on the horizon. As the Scorpio New Moon casts its shadow over the globe, a seismic shift in leadership looms. In the darkened skies of late October 2024, we can feel the tension build. Change is inevitable, and with Scorpio's deep, intense energy, this change will not come quietly. The influence of Pluto, the planet of transformation and crisis, ensures that these transitions will not be without upheaval. This is a time of reckoning, a moment when scandals may erupt, crises will peak, and new leaders will be thrust into the spotlight to confront the deep systemic issues that governments have long buried. United States, leadership on the brink of transformation. A crisis of power, who will emerge? In the United States, the atmosphere is thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Political structures, which once seemed immovable, now tremble as the Scorpio New Moon sheds its light on the fractures beneath the surface. In a country with a history of seismic political shifts, from the birth of its democracy to the civil rights movements, another chapter is about to unfold. Public dissatisfaction simmers, and it may only take a spark to ignite a full-blown leadership crisis. Scorpio's presence ensures that these transitions will be transformative and intense. The question on everyone's mind: who will emerge from the ashes? New leaders will rise, bringing with them the promise of reform and renewal. Yet the path ahead is uncertain, and the power struggles will be fierce. With the stakes higher than ever, the United States is poised for a redefining moment in its political history, one that will test its resilience and force the nation to confront its internal divisions. Latin America, winds of change in a region of revolution, power struggles and new faces in the halls of government. In Latin America, a region with a storied past of revolutions and political upheavals, the Scorpio New Moon stirs the pot once again. From the towering Andes to the bustling cities of Brazil and Argentina, a sense of impending change hangs in the air. The leadership transitions in this part of the world are often dramatic, marked by crises that shake the very foundations of power. In countries like Mexico, where historical shifts have brought about revolutionary movements, and Brazil, which has grappled with political corruption and economic instability, new leaders may rise to tackle these deep-rooted issues. The Scorpio New Moon, with its intensity and focus on transformation, promises that these transitions will not be smooth. They will be born from conflict, power struggles, and perhaps scandals that force the region to confront the realities of governance in an ever-changing world.
A global reckoning. Leadership in crisis. Scorpio's dark energy, a catalyst for renewal. As the new moon rises in Scorpio's domain, the intensity of this sign, often associated with the depths of transformation and renewal, sends ripples across the world. Governments are under siege, not from external enemies, but from within, as hidden tensions surface and the balance of power is called into question. From the streets of Washington, D.C., to the governmental palaces of Buenos Aires, power struggles will emerge, tearing apart the fabric of old regimes and giving rise to new faces, new policies, and, hopefully, new beginnings. But Scorpio never makes it easy. This energy is about crisis as a catalyst, where leaders are forged in the fires of upheaval. Pluto's influence, ever the harbinger of deep change, guarantees that these transitions will reshape the political landscape for years to come. The world watches as a new era of leadership begins to take shape, one that promises both uncertainty and hope for a renewed future. October 2024 is a transformative and volatile month globally, with significant shifts in leadership, diplomacy, military action, and economic systems. The eclipses signal critical turning points in global governance, and Pluto's influence continues to reshape power structures. Technological breakthroughs and economic innovations are also on the horizon, driven by Uranus's influence in Taurus. Regions experiencing military tensions or leadership challenges will see intensified activity, while nations that embrace technological progress and economic reform will be better positioned for growth and expansion. The final act. Who will lead the way? As we step further into the unknown, the Scorpio New Moon leaves us on the edge of our seats. Crisis breeds opportunity, but it also breeds conflict. Leaders will rise, but so too will opposition. In this charged atmosphere, every move, every decision, and every power play will ripple across the globe, affecting not just the nations in question, but the very foundation of global governance. Stay tuned. The next chapter in the world's political story is about to unfold, and it will be one for the history books.